those blind spots. We'll just start with that, and then we'll get to the workplace after that. So Dave is not really. He's very fascinated by cognitive distortions, and all the things that you have studied. But he has decided, at least last time I spoke to him, at least his book now, which is How Minds Change, is about rapport and connection and contact, and sort of collaborating with people. There's David Craney's book, rather than demanding that somebody, regular argumentation and demanding that somebody adopt your point of view or your position. Is that your sort of understanding of these things as well?
Absolutely. So I have a methodology that I describe in my book, The Blind Spots Between Us, called EGRIP: Emotions, Goals, Rapport, Information, Positive Reinforcement. And that's what you should do if you actually want to change somebody's mind. The typical approach is arguments. And of course, I'm sure David talked about how arguments don't work. If you want to look at the evolutionary psychology, not sure if David went into this, arguments were actually evolved in the ancestral savanna environment when we lived in small tribes of 50 to 150 people to help us build social status within the tribe and help us convince the tribe to do something. So the people in that
Right.
environment who were able to successfully convince their tribal members to pursue a certain course of action, those were the people who got social status, and those were the people who were able to take a path forward. There's a reason that so many of our politicians are lawyers, not scientists or psychologists like us, unfortunately. So that
I,
is where
yeah.
the leaders come from, arguments. And those are not meant to change minds. Those are meant to mobilize people around you who are like-minded, not change minds. So if you want to change minds, you need to use eGrip or some other techniques. But that's where let's start by talking about what arguments are and realizing that when you argue with someone, you're never trying to change their mind, no matter how much it feels to you like you are. You're just trying to browbeat them, and you're trying to get others on your side.
You're trying to vanquish somebody, I
Right.
guess.
That's right.
And,
You're trying to
and,
dominate them. That's what happens.
yeah. And so I've noticed these days the topic of I'm amazed. I tend to gravitate towards. It's automatic with me. I gravitate to what I see as these sort of important phenomenon of our time. Like I was deep in the AIDS epidemic when that was going. I was, obviously in drugs and alcohol when that was still going crazy. But lately I've found myself into this field of persuasion and contact and, rapport building. It just feels like that's the problem of the day, of the hour, certainly. Persuasion in particular is something that I don't know anything about and find myself thinking a bit about these days. How is persuasion different from, the argumentation isn't quite enough the right word, from, I guess
Argumentation is
argumentation,
a
I don't
fine
know
word.
a better word right
Yes,
now. Yeah.
right, exactly. So persuasion is actually meant to change somebody's mind. So either I mentioned that's a technique developed to actually persuade people effectively, and there are other techniques. But let's go for the technique and it's different from argumentation. And the first thing that how it's different is it starts with emotions. E is for emotions. And you want to focus on people's emotions because the reason that people are opposing you is fundamentally not rational, logical. If we were rational and logical creatures, we would be convinced by facts and arguments would work. That is not what works. We're not convinced by facts. We're convinced by how we feel, not what we think. If you want to get them to change your mind, you don't need to convince them with facts. You need to get them on your side, and for that, you need to tap into their emotions. So the first part of EGRIP, emotions, goals, rapport, information, positive reinforcement, is figuring out their emotions. And you need to do that by using techniques like empathy. So let's be very clear what empathy is and what empathy isn't. Empathy means understanding other people's emotions. It's not sympathy, which means caring about their emotions. You might or might not, but you need empathy. Empathy meaning understanding how they feel. So that's very different, very clear. So you're going to use empathy to try to figure out how they feel. And you can do that through reading their tone of voice, their facial expression, what they're saying and what they're not saying. All of these things, we can dive deeper into that. So that's empathy. So you're figuring out what they're saying using active listening, empathetic listening, trying to figure out the tones that are leading them to make whatever truth claims they're making. Then, so you move on from empathy to G, goals. You figure out what goals you share. Now, if you think about it, with anyone in your life, even your worst enemy, you probably share the goals. You want a happy life for yourself, right? You want generally people to be well off unless you're a psychotic maniac. You want our country to go to a better place, and you want people to be healthy and happy and have peaceful existence, right? So those are broad things you can share. And you want to figure out a specific issue at hand, the kind of things you share with someone. And I'll go through the example. Next, you build up rapport. In this case, means showing the other person that you are on their side. About their perspective, the point of view. Only 4 is where the information is where you bring up might be potentially pleasant for them. So on their side, you understand their emotions, you share goals, you give information. And finally, after they change their mind somewhat toward your perspective, you give them positive reinforcement for changing their mind and saying how tough it is to do. I'll give you an example. So I was at a dinner party, and I was talking to somebody who was very strongly supportive of raising minimum wage to $18, not $18. So they were very much kind of on that left side, which said, really want to raise the minimum wage. So I talked to them, I figured out their emotions, and they had an emotion of fairness and kind of anger at the capitalist Wall Street, who he thought were usurping and exploiting the masses. So that's one. So I figured out the emotions. Then goals. I talked about, well, what are the goals that he's trying to reach? And we have a number of shared goals. We want everyone, I care about poor people, I want them to be better off, and people who are earning minimum wage, right? We want them to be better off. Then we got to rapport, and we talked about that. We talked about how poor people kind of get the shaft in this country, working at minimum wage, often not being able to make ends meet at that situation. So that's rapport. So we got into rapport. He's feeling I'm on his side. I understand him. I understand where he's coming from. Then we talked about information. We pointed out there are a number of studies that show when minimum wage goes up, many jobs are actually lost, whether to automation or to offshoring and to other causes. So there are serious problems when minimum wage is raised too high. And there are good debates to be had about what's too high, but $18 in most cases, right now, at least in our country, is going to be too high. And when I gave him some numbers and some studies about this, he saw where I'm coming from. He really hadn't thought about the job losses and how it's going to hurt or working on minimum wage to do that. And finally, once he realized that, okay, maybe $18 for all companies is going to be, maybe Amazon should be paying $18, but not some smaller businesses out there. And so he agreed that, yes, maybe a blanket $18 minimum wage is too much. And then I gave him positive reinforcement, saying, it's tough to really mind because it's challenging for us that you're able to do that. And that will help make sure that he, in the future, will be more open to changing his mind. It's kind of a meta point, so that he's not only on the object level itself, on minimum wage, but on the meta point itself, on changing their mind. So that's a way of using this e-grip technique to get people to change their minds and persuade them.
It's very interesting. One of the things I've noticed that caused me to sort of shift to persuasion, that's not a great technique, by the way. Laughing to myself, I was thinking, I wonder if your accent makes it easier for you to persuade, because you know what I mean. You're not part. You're necessarily not part of the American capitalist pig. You're a dispassionate European. You can see things that we can't see. So interesting to me that come to bear that we may not be aware of. Because I have a feeling, stupid American going at that guy, we've gotten nowhere fast. But who knows? Maybe it's how you approach it.
I think it might be mistaken in that saying that kind of it's the stupid American. I mean, there's research showing that people with foreign accents are trusted less than people with mainstream American accents. I don't think that the accent.
But I think that where was that data from? Where did they collect that data? Was that
generally speaking, for Americans.
No, but because I've noticed that to be true on TV. I've not found it to be true one-on-one. You see what I'm saying? It's different where people. But I've noticed this very vividly, that like British accents particularly just don't work on TV, but they're very much welcomed in a social setting and in individual settings. It's very weird.
You're absolutely right. British accents are one of the few accents to which this doesn't apply. Mostly foreign accents are going to be less trusted in individual interactions or group interactions.
Interesting.
So I don't think
you're too close to the Russian accent. That's the problem. That's
funny. I mean, I'm Ukrainian, so Ukrainian and Moldovan.
I know. That shows you how stupid. I said that with intention because I said that's how dumb this is when we have those biases to talk about your biases. Right. That's how dumb our biases are.
Right.
All right.
And that's called
let me finish this thought.
Cognitive biases. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what's it called? Say it again.
The Horns effect. So the Horns effect is one of these cognitive biases where, again, relating that tribalism. I mean, a lot of these cognitive biases are coming from that ancestral savanna environment. So in that ancestral savanna environment, when you had a sign that somebody is not from your tribe, it was important to not trust them. And of course, having an accent is a good sign that somebody is not from your tribe.
Right. Well, and I think you and I have gone over the Robbers Cave study and all that kind of. There's all these famous social psychological studies out there that show how quickly humans get into these tribal positions. But we also quickly get into cooperative positions too, if we have a common goal and a common enemy. Mm-hmm. And we have to kind of really keep that in mind and find those things. The fact that we're first playing rather than looking for those opportunities is sort of disturbing and disappointing to me.
You're exactly right. That's what I talk about in the second point of the e-group technique, goals, shared common goals. And then the third point is rapport, building up rapport. So showing the person you understand their emotion and you share their goals. That is really critical if you want to connect with people and persuade them effectively.
But I think one of the reasons I have been sort of preoccupied with persuasion is I'm encountering character pathology all over the place. Character illness, particularly cluster B character. And it's very difficult to manage people with these kinds of character constructs. And because you can't, I mean, you and I have not talked about this. So I feel like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard did us all a service by putting their conflicts publicly to show how messy relationships are. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think they both had pathology. But one of the things you saw on display was how people with borderline disorder distort. They distort, and then their memories are distorted and severely, they're inaccurate. But then, of course, Mr. Depp is using drugs and alcohol. That also distorts memories and distorts perception. And so I guess what I'm getting at, are there ways, one of the more frustrating phenomenon I get into these days is the distortions around character. You're either suspect because whatever's going on in the person's victim mentality is projected onto you, or you get anger or manipulation, or you have to be, and I'm not talking about one particular style, I'm just saying these are the kinds of things you encounter, or you have to perfectly mirror that person, the narcissist. And, there's all these things that people now like are almost caring about people in order to carry on a civil conversation. Does understanding, my next question is going to be, can your technique work in those settings, A, and B, are there awarenesses of certain cognitive biases that can help us in those situations?
Yes, so for folks who don't understand the character B characteristics of these personalities are people who are really pretty dramatic and unpredictable. So that is the kind of folks we're talking about here. And of course, these techniques can work with them as they can with other people when you get on their emotional wavelength. You really underestimate the role of emotions, and especially for people with personalities, having the emotion is going to be very important for them. So they're going to be more important than other people who have more of a logical, rational approach. You really want to be focusing, spending more time with them on their emotions and trying to understand and tune in to their emotions. If you want to persuade them, right? If you care about that, if you care about building and cultivating a relationship with this person, if you care about that, then you really want to be focusing on their emotions, not the logic, the rationality, not the reason, and not what you feel. So here it's going to be tricky. And this one of the most tricky things in this technique and more broadly dealing with people is managing their emotions. emotional intelligence, right? So emotional intelligence is the skill area of being able to be aware of what you feel and then being able to manage what you feel. Conversely, social
Yeah.
intelligence, e-grip is within the technique of social intelligence, which is being aware of what other people feel and being able to influence, manage their feelings, emotions. So emotional intelligence is where it starts. You need to understand how you feel, what you feel, before you really engage with other people.
Well,
And knowing yourself, of course, is the big
yeah.
battles in this world.
Well, I want to drill in a little more on that because you're getting right into the territory that I'm worried about, which is it's hard enough just to know who you are and what you're feeling, but when you get in and around cluster B, you get sucked into their frame. You know, they have not great boundaries. Like I'm thinking about a narcissist, for instance. One of the key ways dealing with a narcissist is to keep in mind what you're feeling. Keep your priorities, your thoughts, your feelings in mind while you're dealing with that person. But you may have to perfectly mirror what that person wants and provide them exactly what their needs and desires are, or else you'll be completely rejected. So it depends what your goals are with that person, right?
Yep. You're absolutely right,
Yeah.
Dr. Drew. It's about understanding that person and separating that person
Yeah.
from your emotions. We're talking about emotions,
Yeah.
understanding
It's
your
hard.
emotions.
It's hard.
The crucial thing to do, yeah,
Hard.
it is very hard. It is hard.
Mm.
And that's why I said at the beginning, you want to separate sympathy from empathy. Empathy means
Yeah.
understanding that person. Sympathy means caring about them. And so you might not care about what they feel. You don't need to experience the emotions that they do. What many people do, and they make the mistake of, and they don't realize that they don't need to do this, is they try to mirror the other person's emotions in a way that they experience that person's emotions. That's not great.
That's contagion.
You don't want
That's
to be.
no, that's
Yeah,
that's contagion.
that's
That's
emotional
contagion.
right,
And,
exactly. That's emotional
yeah.
contagion, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
You want to
No,
separate
it's
your emotions.
the way what I tell people is imagine you're trying to take care of a baby or a child, and the child has some intense emotion, and you have contagion. You're overcome by that emotion. Do you think that helps that kid? Do you think that child is now better because you've caught the emotion that's making the child upset? No, now regulates, both escalate. Which again, back to the cluster B. If you're in with a borderline, you're going to the moon that way.
Mhm. Yeah, so a good way of addressing a child's temper tantrum is saying that, wow, that's a great temper tantrum. Come on, let it all out. So rather than engaging and kind of the temper tantrum, and that's the same way you want to engage with someone with cluster B personality. Kind of, if they're angry, say, yeah, you have the right to be angry without getting angry yourself. Let them get the anger out.
Right.
Let them get, whatever drama they have out without becoming angry yourself. That's a nice thing. You can reinforce the other person's emotions without mirroring them exactly. You can say that you have the right and the validity to have those emotions. And they'll hear that and they'll be, oh, yes, you support my emotions. You don't need to feel those emotions. You need to express that you are concerned and support their emotions.
I have found a way to set a boundary that's rather convenient and nice is to reflect with the small muscles in your face, both appreciation, like reflect what the feeling is they're having and your concern for it. You can do all that with your face, and that's a boundary. That's a boundary. You're not saying I've caught your feeling. It's signaling an appreciation. And those signals get into our brain on a deep level.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of social intelligence, understanding how to influence, understanding what other people are feeling and influencing them. You can use social intelligence techniques with your tone of voice, with your body language, including face language, and with the content of what you say. And so that all of those reinforce the message that you're trying to send to the other person, to persuade them, to influence them. Now, one of the things that you want to be thinking about, so one of the cognitive biases that's really important here is called the empathy gap. So the empathy gap, where we tend to greatly underestimate the importance of emotions in motivating other people and motivating ourselves. So that's the empathy gap, underestimating other people's emotions and our own emotions. So it's pretty notorious that there are really interesting studies done, including on ourselves. So when we think, and that's called the hot-cold empathy gap between us in a cold state and us in a hot state. So for example, when people are asked about various kinky sexual things that they're willing to do, when they're in a cold state, they're much less willing to do some kinky sexual activities than when they're in a hot, aroused state. And that applies to all sorts of dangerous, risky, dramatic, escalating activities that people are much more willing to do in a hot state than they would predict that they're willing to do when they are in a cold, calm state. So that's something to really recognize, that our future self can't be trusted if we are aroused. We need to put up barriers to prevent our future self, if we put ourselves in an aroused state, from acting in ways that we'll later regret.
That is really interesting. It also makes me think about why people escalate into strange behaviors in a heated crowd. The crowd kind of brings on the hot state.
Mob
Very
mentality.
interesting.
It does.
Very
It does. And
interesting.
that's kind of social proof. So one of these dynamics is social proof. If other people around us are acting in a certain way, that demonstrates to us from a tribal herd mentality, right? That's one of the cognitive biases is the bandwagon effect, where we jump on the bandwagon of what other people around us are doing. And if they're acting in a way that we might find weird if we weren't part of the crowd, when we're in the crowd and when we feel ourselves to be part of that tribe, we will tend to act in that way unless we deliberately pull out, and that's pretty hard to do.
Interesting. So what I want to do is I want to spend the next 5 minutes going through a little more of the cognitive biases. Then we have a little break, and then I want to talk about the workplace, and then we'll take calls. So let's just kind of go through some of the more common cognitive biases. And one you and I talked about last time I talked to you was just the positive negative bias, which I think is having massive effect these days. I think we both agreed we're sort of positively biased. Your wife
We're
is
both
negatively
optimists.
biased.
Yep.
Dr.
Yep.
Fauci
She's
is negatively biased. Yeah, there's all these sort of negative. The people that are still wearing masks and still freaking out have negative bias. How do we? Is there a bridge to be had between the positive negative bias? And then tell us a couple of more other common biases.
Of course. So the optimistic, pessimistic bias, right? So people who are more positively inclined toward the world, who think the grass is green on the other side of the hill, that's people, you and I, who have more of a view of the world of full of opportunities. My wife and other people like that see the grass as yellow on the other side of the hill, and the world is full of threats. We need to empathize with people like that, and they need to empathize with us. But the thing is, honestly, optimism is a better life strategy. It's not something that's just what the research shows. So people with an optimism bias tend to be healthier, they tend to be mentally and physically healthier, they tend to be more creative, they tend to be more entrepreneurial. People with a pessimism bias, unfortunately, tend to have more depression, they tend to be less physically healthy, they tend to be more in control function. So Dr. Fauci is definitely in a control function. So you'll find many more lawyers and accountants who have pessimism bias. So the optimism bias is, people do tend to thrive more with the optimism bias. So we need to understand that. And we can certainly build bridges to people with optimism bias by understanding their emotions. So coming from optimistic perspective, you need to understand that people with a pessimism bias view the world through a prism of anxiety. And anxiety, why do they do that? They see the world as full of threat that causes anxiety. And if there's too much threat, too much problems, it causes depression. So we need to understand that they're coming from a place of anxiety. So what we want to do is take steps to relieve their anxiety. That means, first of all, acknowledging, telling them that, hey, I totally understand that you feel that this is dangerous, this is worrisome. Tell me about your anxiety. Tell me about what you're worried about. Well, and that's very rare for people with a pessimism bias who know that they're dealing with an optimist. That is incredibly rare for them to hear. That's very rare. When I talk to my wife or other people with a pessimism bias, I tell them, tell me what you're worried about. Tell me what makes you feel anxious about the situation. Then they feel much less threatened. Because what they're worried about is people like us kind of shooting from the hip and just going out and saying everything is hunky-dory.
Oh, I never realized that it was I didn't realize it was the optimists causing the pessimist anxiety. That's just that information is interesting, because I don't want to do that to people. Oh, that's interesting.
They are. Oh, we are.
Oh, that explains a lot.
They feel that we are crazy and that we shoot from the hip and that we are completely oblivious to threats. It's like, COVID is completely over. We don't have an average of 100,000 cases or whatever it is, 97, last I checked this morning, cases per week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still there, right? Obviously. And with the Omicron variants, BA4,
it's
BA4,
nasty. Yeah, it's nasty, but I
exactly.
want to get on with my life. It's like,
yeah, you had COVID yourself, and that caused you some serious problems. I remember that. Exactly.
twice.
Yep, twice, exactly.
It's
So
good
that's the
times.
problem, right? Yeah. So we need to realize that they have fears about what we will do. And if we listen to them, if we talk to them and say, what are your fears? What is your anxiety? That will help them really understand and appreciate that, hey, we are more on their side. So sort of a little bit borrowing some of the e-grip techniques and talking about, okay, how can we relieve your anxiety? Sometimes we optimists don't realize what makes pessimists anxious. And if we realize that, hey, these are the things that make pessimists anxious, then maybe we can take steps to address
if it's
these.
the optimist, I had no idea. So that's already a major insight for me.
Right. So then we can figure out, okay, these are the kind of worries, these pessimists think that, okay, these are the kinds of worries they have about what we'll do. So maybe we can tell them, okay, I will make sure to not do these things. And then we can come to a win-win compromise in a situation where pessimists would be otherwise completely shutting the situation down and saying, no, don't have these parties, don't get on with your life. You can compromise, you can figure out what makes them anxious. So that's kind of one of the big dynamics that you want to be thinking about. And else, you'll find many people in your life. If you are an optimist, you'll find that a number of reasons for your conflicts with people is that many of them are pessimists. If you're a pessimist, you'll find that some of your conflicts, a bunch of them, come from optimists that you feel are shooting from the hip. And there's common misunderstandings. So those are definitely important. Another, probably the most famous cognitive bias folks have heard of is the confirmation bias, where we tend to look for information that confirms our beliefs and ignore information that doesn't. So that's a common one. One of the ones that I think people might have heard about less is called the fundamental attribution error. Fundamental attribution.
That's what I was going to bring. I was going to bring up that next. I've noticed it's sort of. I'm not even sure. I feel like it's morphed a little. I remember, I know what you're going to tell us about the fundamental attribution error. I would like you to do so. But I feel like it's just changed to an attribution error. People just assume what's going on in the contents of people's minds all the time. You know what I mean? That once they just, it's on social media and everywhere else, that's an evil person, that's a Nazi, that's a communist, that's whatever. These attributions are being way more bantered about than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Right, because it's easy to make attributions on social media. So the fundamental attribution error, that's technical scientific name, if you look that up for individuals, where we know the contents of our mind. And so when we do something that might be controversial, we know that we're doing it for a good reason. We're the good guys, right? We have a good story about ourselves, about why we're doing it. When we see somebody else doing something, like cutting off stuff in the car, or making a controversial statement on social media, or doing something in the workplace that we think is dumb, then we attribute hostile intentions to them because we think that, well, how can they do that? They be crazy. So what's going on in their internal world? We attribute their actions due to their internal personality and something that's wrong with them as individuals. Because why would they be acting like this otherwise? We don't have a glimpse into their world. Now, we have extensive research showing that if you sit people down with one another, across the political aisle, across various ideologies, religion, whatever, and when you talk to each other, and they share about their life experiences and why they came to develop the values that they do, then you can bridge a lot of the divides. So that bridges a lot of divides when people come to understand each other's experiences and each other's thought processes, where they came from. And that brings down hostilities immensely. But in social media, of course, that's not what happens. Before social media, we used to know the people we interacted with much more personally. You go to the party, you have some background people, of course, your neighbors, your friends, and so on. On social media, you have much less insight into the background of other people with whom you interact. So we tend to attribute more hostile intentions and actions and thought processes to these people. So this fundamental attribution error, that's for individuals. But attribution error is when we attribute these characteristics to larger groups. So groups, everyone who identifies as a communist, or anyone who identifies as someone on the alt-right, or whatever it is. We would tend to attribute negative characteristics to that whole group, even though they might not.
I'd never heard of the ultimate attribution error, but as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm almost hearing these days attribution errors. In other words, it's not just that they're attributing, they're going, oh, another one of these, and you're just another one. And it's like now it's second order attribution error. Not only are you attributing content to that person's mind, you're also saying something about the world and the group to which they belong to. It's another one. Yep. It's like no. And that kind of thinking gets very close to delusion. I'm sorry to tell you, it becomes a paranoid delusional. Do one more step and you're delusional. Everybody's a fascist. Everybody's a communist. Now you're there. Or mom's mom's plotting against me. Okay, now we're into delusion. There we go. That's weird. It's weird that that's been a weird thing these days. All right. Well, listen. Let me take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about workplace and your hybrid work recommendations, how to manage it, and then we'll take calls. All right. Be right back after this. I think we have found the holy grail of skincare. Genucel has absolutely changed, certainly my skincare regimen. I like that vitamin C serum, the under eye creams, skin nourishing primer. Susan loves the eyelash enhancers, uses it on her eyebrows as well. Genucel has everything to make us both feel and look amazing. Best part, the quality of the products. Using pure ingredients like antioxidants, copper peptides, and a proprietary calendula flower base, Genucel knows how to formulate products to perfection without irritation. For Susan, she hates that annoying dry area under her nose during allergy season, like right here. She's tried everything, no matter what. The skin is flaky and dry. Nothing seemed to help until she started using Genucel's Silky Smooth XV Moisturizer. Soaked right into the skin. She was hooked after one use and now loves all of their products as well. Every single product is developed by a pharmacist, making sure that all the ingredients are safe and effective. Right now, you can try Genucel's most popular collection of products and see what I'm talking about for yourself. Go to Genucel.com and enter code DREW for 10% off. That is GENUCEL.com, and the code is DREW. And welcome back. Appreciate you all being here. Those of you that have tried the Genucel products, please let us know what you think of it. Contact at drdrew.com. And if you have any trouble reaching them, again, we feel very, very happy to be able to support their products. They're excellent. Caleb, you still using everything, and your wife using everything to satisfaction?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I just used it before the show today. In fact, let's see, where am I? You can probably see that my skin is looking pretty amazing. I mean,
look at Caleb.
Well, smooth and it's This
you use the red out stuff.
Editing podcasts late at night. Oh yeah, it's doing great. No, so part of the reason I wanted to, because he had made a really interesting point earlier about the optimists and pessimists each other.
I just disarmed my ears. Sorry about that. Kicked the wire and the whole thing fell apart.
Dr. Sibursky, he had made a very interesting point.
Yes.
Whenever you had realized that how optimists and pessimists see each other, and it made me realize that my wife is a huge optimist, and I try to be an optimist, but that's just a natural state.
Yeah,
and the truth is, I often actually feel like that the only way that optimists like my wife survive are because they're a pessimist like me, who are constantly watching out for all of these dangers and constant threats.
Well, so hold on. So stop, Caleb. It's funny. It's funny you would say that. When Dr. Sibursky first described this bias, he goes, the optimist had to go out of the cave and go kill the mammoth. We had to get the meat, and you had to be kind of optimistic for that guy to go out there and go hunting. But somebody needed to stay back with the kids and survive and keep the fire going. There you go.
And if you think about Caleb, if you think about your role, you are in the controlling role. You are in the producer. You are making sure that there are no screw-ups, right? So the control roles are perfect for people who are more pessimistic. Like I said, accountants, controllers, quality personnel. That's a perfect role for you. That's great. That's where you're needed. So thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your diligence.
For my service.
my goodness. All right. So speaking of workplace, let's talk about hybrid workplace. Elon Musk has made some headlines lately for firing people that criticized him and telling everybody to get back to work and go to a pretend company where you can continue to pretend to work, I think is what he said, which is pretty funny.
Yes.
But what do you say about this new hybrid environment?
Yeah, so what Elon Musk said is that remote workers are only pretending to work, and therefore everyone has to come to work because it's important for everyone to be there. And so he's basically claiming that remote workers are not productive. When you look at the research, it's very clear that remote workers are more productive than in-person workers, of course, for those who can do their work
Hard
remotely.
to imagine.
No, it's not actually hard to imagine. Well, think about it. What happens with remote work? You don't have to do the commute, so you save yourself over an hour per day of, and especially if you are, let's say, in New York City, you save yourself over 2 hours per day and more, perhaps more. So that is something that remote workers. Now, what is a commute? It's unpaid labor. You have to do it to come to work. It's unpaid labor. So remote workers are working about half of the time of that commute. They are working. They spend that time working. So they don't work from 9 to 5. They work from 8:30 to 5:30. That's what typically happens with remote workers. They work longer days. We saw on average the transition in March 2020 that remote workers worked about 20 hours more per month. That's one. Second, they are more focused when they work. They have more unbroken stretches of time when they can focus on their tasks, and therefore they're not interrupted by coworkers, and so they are more productive because they're more focused. So overall, there was extensive research showing this from Harvard Business School, Society for Human Resources Services, Stanford University, showing that remote workers are more productive. Specifically, there was some recent research coming out from Stanford that showed that compared to May 2020, what the remote workers in May 2020 were about 5% more productive than comparable in-office workers. By May 2022, they were about 9% more productive. So almost twice as much higher productivity. Why is that? Well, because people learned how to work remotely better. And using some of the techniques in my book, I'll talk about that later, about some of the techniques that they use. But people know how to work together better remotely. So Elon Musk is flatly, simply wrong. And I'm confident that Tesla engineers, software programmers, the people who he's claiming don't work, pretending to work, are more productive at home just because everyone is on average more productive at home. And of course, some people with kids and so on, distractions, are less productive at home. But on average, people are quite a bit more productive at home. Now, that's one. Second, what is he saying? He's saying that you need to come to work because I don't trust you. I don't trust you to work. You're only pretending to work. You're phoning it in. Now, what kind of a message is that? When you don't trust me, you're telling people, I don't trust you. I want to micromanage you. You need to be visible, and I need to be looking over your shoulder at every minute. That is not a way to run a company. When you look at what makes people productive, people who are not the workers on the shop floor, of course, who need to be there, but people who are knowledge workers, the people who can work remotely, the software programmers at Tesla, the research and development people at Tesla, they are made effective and productive and innovative due to a combination of autonomy and flexibility. So autonomy and flexibility are strongly correlated with both innovation and productivity. People like to have autonomy over their work when they're working with their mind, when they're knowledge workers. They want to be autonomous, meaning where, how, and when they work. When you give them those things, they produce more ideas and they produce more output, more effort. So that is a big, big problem. Lack of trust, showing lack of trust is poison for a good culture. Now, not giving people autonomy is poison for innovation and creativity. So what will happen? The people who are more innovative and more creative can easily find jobs elsewhere. And we know that Amazon and other companies that are offering the much more flexibility are actually specifically recruiting test workers right now using what Elon Musk is saying. And they will leave. And who will come to work? The people who are more conformist. Let's just that. Who are more conformist and who are less able to find a job elsewhere. So these are the people who will be remaining at Tesla. The people who are least able to find a job elsewhere, the people who are most conformist. Now, is that really aligned with Tesla's spirit? I mean, Tesla is making its money because it's innovative. It's innovation. The innovation is at the center of Tesla. But you have people working at Tesla because they will be gone. And that's a phenomenon called evaporative cooling, where a certain type of people are leaving a place, they're evaporating from a place, and you have more of a concentration, like something something becoming more salty because water is evaporating. You'll have more of a concentration of more conformist people who are working at Tesla. And that's not great for Tesla. And I know that there are a number of other companies, including high-tech manufacturers like Tesla, who are working, offering flexibility. So one of my clients is a high-tech manufacturing company called Applied Materials. And they gave me a testimonial, so I'm happy to talk about it. So Applied Materials is a Fortune 500 company that works in the semiconductor manufacturing industry. And so, again, high-tech manufacturing. People from Tesla can easily go and find work there. Again, high-tech manufacturing, similar environment. And that company provides them with a lot more flexibility. It provides, including fully remote work for people who can work fully remotely, or various flexible hybrid options from 1 day a week to a couple of days a week, whatever, depending on your team, depending on the kind of role that you are. So Applied Materials is another example is 3M, which is obviously, folks know hopefully what 3M is. Huge, I think it's a Fortune 50 company, so a huge company. It has a trust-based culture. So trust-based culture meaning they trust you to work from wherever you are, however you are, as long as you accomplish your work. There are two high-tech manufacturing companies where people from Tesla can easily go to work. And we're not only talking about tech companies like Amazon. So there are a number of high-tech manufacturing companies that offer a flexible, trust-based culture. Now, why is Elon Musk pursuing this? He's falling into a cognitive bias called the illusion of control. So the illusion of control, that's a cognitive bias that often characterizes people who are more authoritarian leaders who want to have control over their environment. He directly says this in his email to employees, saying, you must be visible, you must be able to see you. Control, he wants control, he wants that power. And that illusion of control speaks to the fact that we don't really have nearly as much control over our world, over our teams, as we feel we do. In fact, extensive research shows that office workers, on average, work only about 36 to 39% of the time. 36 to 39% of the time is how much people work when they're in the office. That is not great. So for people who want the illusion of control, like Musk, who found that illusion of control, the rest of the time people do things like chit-chatting with fellow workers about non-work topics, checking social media, shopping on Amazon, and even looking for other jobs, which I can guarantee to you a number of Tesla workers who are coming in right now are doing at this very moment.
Well, but I don't disagree with anything you've said. You can't disagree with it. It's just that those are the facts. But I worry that two things get lost in the hybrid situation, and it's almost like I feel like we need to define the kinds of jobs that are done best or better, at least in these different models. In other words, you are not practicing medicine alone. You're going in, period. And you can't be a healthcare provider and not go in. It just doesn't even make sense. And the more sort of collaborative and interactive you are with your peers, the better the care, the more your knowledge base is enhanced. And I'm guessing there are other scientific endeavors in particular, say in a collective laboratory of biotech environment, or maybe in certain engineering environments where it's really important to be constantly interacting with your peers. And there may be a way to do it, with some of those professions where you're primarily looking at a screen, like engineering or something, but not in a biotech. When you're in a lab, yelling across the bench to each other, that has to be in the bench and inside and now maybe you can go home and crunch the numbers, but you're probably doing that anyway already. So I worry that you're going to lose the community social cohesion of a workplace. You're not going to feel a part of something. So what about those two issues? type of job
Sure.
and social community cohesion. Yeah.
Let's talk about the exact job you talked about. And one of my clients is called the JEP Center for Health Research. You can look it up. It's a center for health research. It's a biotech center. And it moved to a home-centric model, meaning it's not even a hybrid model. People most overwhelmingly work at home. They only come in for meetings and for some research that they can't do at home. But a lot of the current bio research can be done from home because it's using data science, using models. So the large majority of it actually can be done from home. And when you think about people in biotech, they tend to be more introverted. They tend to be more number crunchers, and they really like working from home. They're very comfortable, and they are very successful. So they moved, the JEP Center for Health Research moved to a home-centric model, and they're finding that they have a lot more productivity, a lot more innovative ideas, getting more funding, they're getting more research done, they're overall way better off with a home-centric model. So we're not even talking about a hybrid model. And that just works well for them. When they did an internal survey on what employees wanted, we did an internal survey, 84% wanted fully remote work. So this is what employees wanted, and this is what drives retention. Now, another one of my clients is called the Information Sciences Institute at the University of Southern California. Again, all of these gave me testimonials, which is why I'm talking about them. That's a 400 staff research institute where there's a focus on data. So it's in engineering, data science of various forms, engineering of various forms, IT science, all of this sort of stuff. And a lot of them work fully remotely. They're very comfortable working fully remotely, and a bunch of them come in on hybrid schedule.
I get it, but I feel like you're defining a particular job, which is IT and data, which doesn't surprise me. Better from home. Yeah, so there's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
right, so I'm talking
and
about
so there must be. I'm sure there must be. Yeah, there must be other jobs. My point of being, other jobs that are not suitable for that or not as good for it. Or we got to sort of be more specific to the job. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we're only talking about. Listen, there are about 50%. About 50% of all jobs in the United States are able to be done fully remotely from home, and that's the jobs that we're talking about. We're talking about the jobs where you have to come in. Now, for the other part of your question about community, it's very important to do that, and there are effective techniques to build that. So there's a reason that there's 9% higher productivity now rather than 5%. And one of the techniques that I talk about a lot is called virtual co-working. What that means, it replaces the in-person co-working you do. What that means is that everyone gets together on a video conference call for an hour or two per day, and you work on your individual tasks. So you don't work together with other people. It's not about collaboration. You work on your individual tasks. But when you have a question, you ask that. So you get in a video conference call, you turn off your microphone, you leave on your speakers, and you video optional. If you have a question, you ask that question. Somebody turns on their microphone, they answer that question. There might be some team problem solving, some screen sharing that goes on, and then you end the meeting. That's a great technique for on-the-job training of junior people. That's been one of the problems for people during the pandemic, and they don't know how to do that. That's a great technique, on-the-job training, because on-the-job training is essentially just quickly answering people's questions in the moment. Then it's a great technique for team bonding. You all work together, you problem solve together, you build a community, you feel that sense of togetherness, and that's great. And it's great for junior staff getting mentoring from more senior staff, because that's a great environment for them to do that. So that solves a lot of problems around the community, around on-the-job training, around getting mentoring, and that sort of support.
I have a question.
All right, let's switch to, Caleb. I would just, before you're asking your question, I would just tell people, if you're in the chat room and the tweet spaces, raise your hand. I saw Timothy, you had your hand up and then you put it down. And I get notified that you're wanting to ask a question. If you do so, I will pull you up to the podium. And when I do, you'll be streaming out on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Facebook. We push it. So just push, request it. And also remember, when I do pull you up to the podium, to unmute your microphone, which is in the lower left-hand corner of your Tweet Spaces screen. Caleb, go ahead.
Do you think that workers are paid more if they're working from home because the company isn't having to pay for office space and all the materials and equipment and upkeep? Like, it's reducing the company's costs. Should the employees be paid more, or should they be paid the same or less because they're getting more freedom, or balance out?
What I have my clients do is pay for their home office. So their home office use, so if they need to get laptops, microphones, cameras, if they need to get some privacy screens, all of that, that is what they do because they're not paying for that same space that they would in the office and all of the equipment that they do. So yes, paying for their home office is very appropriate, and it's very smart for companies because obviously when you pay for the home office of your employees, that increases their productivity and their comfort and their innovation, their work-life balance, their physical and mental health. Ergonomic chairs, all of that sort of stuff, standing desks. Yep. So that's a great question, Caleb, and that's what you should do.
So he wants us to. Sorry, I didn't buy your equipment for you, Caleb. Is that where we're going?
No, you did. Actually, you did.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
good. All right. And it worked?
The
you and
streaming
Susan
PC,
working this
the
all
mixer,
out.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. That's all. Susan. So thank her.
Yeah, thanks, Susan.
You guys, just so we're all clear, it's been Caleb and Susan, the brains behind this whole thing. I was just sitting at home being frustrated, and they thought they both. Well, first Caleb suggested it, and then Susan went along, and then I went along, and so thus we've continued doing this to this day. All right, let's bring up some people to the front here to speak. Josh, go ahead.
Oh, hey, Dr. Drew.
Hey.
Sorry. On the Twitter Spaces versus the Clubhouse, there's a pretty bad delay, but that's the only difference I noticed between the two setups. I didn't hear you call on me. I just all of a sudden looked down and said your mic is muted, which meant I was on the stage. So
Interesting.
But so there's a little delay on Twitter Spaces versus Clubhouse.
Okay.
So my question is on projection, and I wanted to know how we know when we're projecting, because if we can catch ourselves doing it, it seems to present a lot of knowledge of the self, of our own self.
That's a great question.
In relationship to another person,
Yes.
where we would have no knowledge otherwise. It's kind of like a cognitive distortion. It's kind of like a cognitive. It's definitely cognitive, but it's also psychological, like you were talking about cluster B. It's also part of these cluster B personality disorders. And I also wanted to say, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but in racism and sexism, it looks like we might be projecting onto the out group, and we may not know that we're doing it at all. And I just wanted to know if you guys had any comment on that.
Okay, thanks, Josh. I'll put you on hold here. I would even say I feel very strongly about what Josh brought up here, in that there's layers to it. And not only is it exactly what he's talking about, there's projection, it has psychological basis, and you have to bring it into consciousness. But there's also, I don't know if this bias has a name, but this is the one I've been personally working on very hard. And I'm just stunned at all the layers to it, which is just sort of ignorance. There's things that other people know vividly about their experience as Americans that I, as a privileged white person, just wasn't aware of. And that's the biggest complaint I'm hearing from people. And so that's why I made it a very serious effort. And just the scales fall from my eyes on a regular basis. Things, even very dear patient of mine sent me a book about Jim Crow in Southern California. And she's a dear friend, known her literally since I was in high school, and taking care of her. She's a much older woman now. And I said, Jim Crow in Southern California, what are you talking about? She goes, here's the book, read it. And again, poofs, multiple scales falling from my eyes. Like, I had no idea. I feel so ignorant. I feel so dumb. But I'm used to it now. It happens all the time. So there's projection, and then there's ignorance. Are those cognitive distortions? Are there strategies for dealing with both?
So one of them, there's a really important cognitive bias called the false consensus effect, where what we believe to be true, also believe that other people who are like us in some ways believe to be true, who are close to us. So for example, your patient, it's intuitive for you to believe that you have the same beliefs, values, perceptions that people you like your patient, that you have the same perspectives, and that you have the same life experiences. And we don't stop and think that other people might have different life experiences. So we have this false consensus effect, the idea that other people share our worldview, values, perspectives. So that's something to really watch out for. And the way to watch out for that is to really try to think about where that person is coming from with their life experience and what might have caused them to not share our life experience. It's essentially the old thing that your mom might have told you about putting yourself in another person's shoes while remembering that in their shoes, you would have very different values. If you were brought up stated, if you grew up in the South under Jim Crow, which a number of people who are Black have grown up, who are, of course, of the older generation, have grown up in that sort of environment, then the kind of concerns and perspectives you would have are very different. And it's important to respect that and see that the life experience of other people shapes their perspectives and their beliefs. And that's very valuable to work on. And that helps address that projection, knowing that all of us fall into that false consensus effect constantly. It's just who we are. It's an inherent part of what we do. Then you will have much more reason to ask other people about their experiences, about asking them, how do you feel about this topic? So again, circling back to that ego from the beginning, emotions, goals, rapport, information, positive reinforcement. You will focus on their emotions. You will try to understand how they feel about a topic. And that will help you get out of that false consensus effect, because like, oh, you feel differently about this topic than I do. Let me try to understand how you feel. Oh, you have different goals about this. Well, let me see what goals we share and what goals we don't. So when you understand those things, their emotions and their goals, then you will have a much deeper appreciation of where they're coming from. And that will help you address that false consensus effect. And that the
but he also
your beliefs and others.
But Josh also asked a question, which is, how do you know when you're projecting? How do you raise your awareness of that? I don't know that anyone on their own can do it. You have to have somebody else reflect back to you, and you have to be willing to listen to that reflection, don't you? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you want to ask somebody about what they feel, what their goals are.
Got it.
Right. That's the key.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. I missed. Let me be explicit. It's dumb people like me miss the step you put in there. It's like you have to be willing to address your projections, be open to the possibility that you're projecting, and test reality by asking people what they're actually experiencing.
You have to assume that you're projection. You're right. You have to assume that you're projecting.
Got it.
Because that's just how we are as human beings. So again, you have to assume that you're projecting, and then you ask other people about how they feel and what their goals are, what they want to achieve. And then you disabuse of yourself of your projections and that false consensus.
Hopefully, or at least reduce the amount of projection. Ivan, what's going on?
Just a thought. I mean, and I'm not here to disrespect, but a few seconds ago, you kind of referred to yourself as a privileged white man. And I know it's based on history, but I think just that statement alone already puts you and other white people above others. And I just think it's about changing the narrative to be more inclusive of all cultures, all generations and walks of life. So it's just something that sort of came to me a bit jarring.
Well, so you're in Australia?
I am, mate. Yep.
Okay, so that is, I'm happy to adjust my language. I'm trying to, just get along, and I think that's how most people. I would either be referred to as dumb or ignorant, which is sort of the other way to do this, or just say, hey, I have had a life experience that just made me not aware of things that I should have been aware of. That's all, which is privilege, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that you are a leader in your field is a privilege because you work towards that. But that's I'm just referring to equality and how we move things along. And just look, it's just a brain thought that I wanted to bring up.
I'm all for thoughts. Don't get me wrong. I dig it. What do you think? What should I say?
Look, it's just out of context. It's hard to answer that question, but I think we just need to refer to situations in a way that is more inclusive. But back to what you guys were talking about earlier about workplace, and I've only just jumped on, so I might be sort of tripping over myself a little bit, but I run a number of companies here in Australia and in different industries, and I think the most important thing is culture and how we value people. Giving someone a pay rise and making them feel stupid or not, or undermining them through actions is counterproductive. We can have our teams, whether they're working remotely or in the office, it's about how they feel valued and through our actions as leaders or owners of a business. Like, I've had a few people that have worked remotely for me we joke about we were practicing for COVID before COVID was a thing, meaning that I had a number of people work remotely or overseas, and they work beautifully. And it's just when you hit your stride, there's a smile on the phone or in person, and I think that to me is the new norm, and it's something that I think is really important to build a really good company culture.
I talked to another consultant today who was fearful that, or concerned, no, fearful is too strong a word, concerned that people want to experience their whole being in the workplace rather than their work being in the workplace. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have any opinion about that, Ivan, but it's, you know, it's one thing to support people and their work and who they are and what they do and show them value and piece of the culture and, you know, collaborate with them. But is it important to have your total self experience in the workplace? You know what I'm saying?
I think personally it's about understanding the human, the individual. Sometimes people want all in the office or home. Like I've had both, and the bulk of our workforce is a hybrid. And a lot of bigger organizations have to have structure, and you've got departments that cancel each other out, or governance that is, and there's HR that complicates fucking everything. If we simplify things into modules and see what works for the individual best, if they're delivering in spades, then fucking game on.
Here.
I think that's a very important insight. That's a very important insight. That you want to customize to the person. You want to respect the person. And here, this goes directly against what Elon Musk is saying, which is not trusting people to work and that they're phoning it in. That is the very opposite of what Ivan is saying, and I think that's very important. What Ivan is saying is... Thank you, Ivan.
Appreciate you being here today. Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. All right. I think that about... I'm looking at what people are up to here. If anybody else is interested in walking up to the podium, we are about the end of the program here. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
How do you... Yeah. So one of the reasons my remote work situation, I'm in Alabama, Drew and Susan, they're over in California, and I'm producing everything remotely. And one of the reasons why I feel like that works so well is because they've built in ways to incentivize me so that the more that I work, then I have opportunities to actually get boosters and commissions and things for working with sponsors and all of that. So how can other companies build that in so that it's like I'm motivated to, I can spend time, I can take, you know, half a day off, spend time with my baby and my wife and all that.
It's really a great, I like that you're bringing this up because I feel like this is sort of one of the new, it's bringing you as an entrepreneur on board by giving you skin in the game. And so talk about that, Gleb. Skin in the game, I think, is a very important part of collaborating and building a work environment.
So one of the things that I do for my clients is make sure there's an effective performance evaluation system for people who can work remotely. And that not performing remotely, then they're asked to come to the office. And so the reward itself is the ability to work remotely, because people generally want to have more flexibility, more autonomy. Now, if for some reason they're not performing effectively remotely, then that may be a good time for them to come into the office. Maybe they're too distracted, scatterbrained to work effectively remotely. And so that in itself is a very good reward system, I find. And they're motivated to work as effectively remotely as they can because they want to keep that privilege. In fact, if you look at surveys, working remotely is the number one privilege that people want right now. It's more important than things like healthcare. So
that's interesting. I had no idea. I had no idea.
People prefer remote work over the healthcare as a more important privilege, and they will choose a company that offers more flexibility than more.
Wow.
And is this all chronicled in the book?
Yes. Yep. Leading hybrid and remote teams. All of that.
Go ahead and flash it up there again, Caleb, while I bring in one more speaker here. It's PK. Where's his book?
You can find that on Amazon, elsewhere. Leading hybrid and remote teams, physical and digital.
Okay. And PK, you have to unmute your mic in the lower left-hand corner of your TweetSpaces screen, and then you can talk to us. There you are.
Hello, everyone.
Hey there.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I just joined the space very late. You guys are already winding up. I want to quickly ask this question. If one wants to secure a remote job, what are the steps? And where can one search for those remote jobs? Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure I caught the question. I think he was saying, are there strategies for...
He asked about, strategies for securing remote jobs. So what you want
Yeah,
securing a remote job, yes, is making sure that you demonstrate that you can work well remotely. And that means showing that you have initiative and showing that you have productivity. And so that one of the things that we find about people, so with my clients, when we evaluate who works well remotely, it's people who take initiative, not people who are just passive and just do what their boss tells them. Those are the people who come to work at Tesla, the more conformist people. You want to show that you take initiative, that you are creative, and that you can be responsible for working in remotely. And those are the things that you want to demonstrate. And there are a number of ways of demonstrating these things. But that's the crucial thing, that you're a problem solver, you take initiative. When you notice problems, you go ahead and solve them. But you are willing to work harder than you would in the office for the privilege of working remotely. And so treating that like a privilege and being a motivated starter who takes initiative and shows creativity and entrepreneurialism, those are the things that will get companies to hire you as a remote worker.
Always, it's a privilege to speak with you. I just every time learn something, and it helps refine my understanding of the human experience. I'm happy to share my positive bias with you, and I'm glad we're both of that. So we don't have to do any bridging of that particular bias. I think as it turns to my bias in the workplace, again, your own experience or how you feel about working from home. I feel like workplace environments are very activating and inspiring. And I would feel bad about people that weren't there, that that wanted to say that we were part of the collaboration in real time and in person, in flesh environment. But again, we all have these biases and we all have these preferences, and that's what makes a ball game, right? We find places we want to work that suit our biases and our preferences. And the fact that I think the really important thing that people should take, if they have strong feelings about this one way or another, the one thing they should take away is there's not a good way and a bad way to solve this problem. There are good ways to do both, and that people clearly want both. And I had no idea what priority it was for people, which to me is, again, another eye-opening thing, which is that we have to, if more important than healthcare, we need to provide that for people if that's really that important to them. And it'll be interesting to see how it works out. And it will change how we go. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to disagree with you. There are bad ways of solving it, and Elon Musk is solving it in a bad way.
Maybe, but again, but if we empathize with him, he has sort of Asperger's, and that's the kind of, that is his style, and he's been very successful with that style. And, personally, would probably respond to that kind of leadership. I would, I'd dig in, and that's just me, right? And a lot of people would bristle against it and hate it, and they shouldn't be there. And so he is what you call he's saltifying. He's evaporating. He's creating too much salt.
Evaporative cooling. The evaporative cooling, right? So
he's evaporative cooling.
People, right. People who'll be left at Tesla will be more conformist and less innovative, creative, and so that will definitely
maybe that's what he wants. Maybe, exactly. Or maybe he'll have a separate workforce for the creative side at home. I don't know. That's up to him. But I always worry about thinking about these things in terms of good and bad. There may be better and best. There may be better ways to do it. I get that. But people, we're all so very, I don't want to say different, because we're all kind of the same too, but to think about each of our experiences, and good or bad, I think it just sort of limits the human experience a little bit. It's just we're just sort of different, and there may be better ways to do it. You may want to rethink what you're doing, but maybe you can adjust course along the way. You'll learn something, and you'll do something much, much better. Who knows? I don't know.
I think that's right. You'll adjust course. I mean, I think generally telling people that you don't trust them is not going to work for the vast majority of people. So, I think we can agree on that.
Fair enough. Look, Sabursky, again, thank you as always for joining me and spending time with me. You can find some more of Gleb's podcast with me. There are at least 2 other ones, drdrew.com if you look for him at the Dr. Drew podcast. And we'll bring you back one of the next will be another book, and we'll get back to that before then too. We'll get you into sort of answer questions, and we'll I would love to do a more comprehensive cognitive distortion talk one day, where we just do the map of cognitive distortions. That'd be very interesting. I once saw a table of cognitive distortions, and I was really surprised how many there actually are. And we should be kind of aware of them. So, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Drew. I appreciate you inviting me.
You got it. That's Dr. Gleb Sabursky. You saw the book. You saw the website. Again, disaster. Caleb, disaster website. There it is. Disasteravoidanceexperts.com. Caleb?
That's right. Yeah. Disasteravoidanceexperts.com.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, anyway, thank you all for being here today. We'll be back on Monday next week. We're going to do a little different schedule next week. It's going to be Monday at 3 and Tuesday at 2. And then Susan and I have to make our way to Austin for a little after dark visit. That's going to be an interesting experience, as always. I miss those guys. And as you know, they're busily working away there in Austin doing their thing, and we love joining them, and we will be there. So look forward to that. You guys are fans of that show. We appreciate your support. Let me just look at the restream before I sign off here. Yeah, thank you, Janes. Bye, Hitler. You guys are touching a lot of things through the fence. All right. I think that is that. And we, again, appreciate y'all being here. And we will see you on Monday, 3 o'clock Pacific time. See you then. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Susan. And we'll see you then.
Ready in Chumash. Arba, Shalosh, Shtaim.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Where my mom's at? Where my mom's wearing thongs, hitting bongs at? Raising kids, cleaning shits, need a long nap. Where my mom's at? Where my mom's at podcast with Christina P.
Meow, 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 meow. Come see me, just stand up live. San Francisco, July 29th, and July 30th, and then Seattle, July 31st at the Neptune, and then Cleveland, Ohio in August, Minneapolis at Acme Comedy Club, August 26th and 27th. One night only in Brooklyn, the night before Bauhaus, September 7th, obviously. That's why you're there, too. Nashville, Tennessee at Zanies in October, and then back again, Jew Dork Titties at Caroline's in November, and then I also doing Fart Lauderdale. ChristinaPOnline.com for tickets. Bush's baked beans are the sure side of a good time. Let me tell you what I love. I loved baked beans. You know why? My dad used to have Bush's baked beans in our cupboards, and it's just the most delicious, flavorful, memorable thing from my childhood, and it reminds me of good times, right? Hot dogs, grilling, just baked beans. One taste of that slow simmered sweetness with a bite of a savory burger is enough to know you've arrived at the best part of the year, because there's something magical in that iconic secret family recipe that turns any summer into a good time. Keep the good times rolling this summer with Bush's Baked Beans. Learn more about those beautiful Bush's Baked Beans at bushbeans.com/moms. In order to support our show, we need the help of some great advertisers, and we want to make sure advertisers are ones you'll actually want to hear about. But we need to learn a little more about you to make that possible. So go to podsurvey.com/WMMA and take a quick anonymous survey that will help us get to know you better. That way we can bring on advertisers you won't want to skip. Once you've completed the quick survey, you can enter for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that's podsurvey.com/WMMA. Thanks for your help.
I want to come see you in New York at Caroline's. How fun would that be?
Would you really?
I would love that.
I would love that
If
too.
I can make sure that I can get there. Is it on a weekend? Weekday?
Oh, yeah. I usually do Friday, Saturdays.
Oh, really? Amazing. That would be so fun.
Where did you, by the way, Jamie Lynn Sigler is joining me. you know her. She's a very famous actress. I love how both you and Rob Eiler, your television brother from Sopranos, you guys are the most down-to-earth, humble, famous people I think I know.
You know why? I have actually come to realize why I think we're a little bit like that. Because the beginning of our careers and like kind of our lives were part of like this crazy huge show. And it's really like done nothing for us later in life. Like in a way, meaning like, obviously, the only thing it's actually given me to take on with my life is the incredible experience I had and the relationships I made from it, career-wise. Like, it didn't. Like, it did and it didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it gave me a little bit of cred, but I still have to hustle and do everything. So I feel like it really just taught us a very important lesson early in life that, like, the most important thing is the people, the time, and the other stuff doesn't matter.
So true.
Or it doesn't last.
Absolutely. Because the biggest lesson of show business is like, just when you think you're shit, you ain't shit.
Yep.
Because it's always about the next project. They don't give a shit what you did today, how famous you are. You're right. It's constant grind and hustle. So if you get your self-worth from that external validation, you're going to be a miserable human being.
There you go.
Because it's just business.
Yeah.
It's just this horrible business.
Yeah. So I think that's why we give off like that vibe, because we're like, oh, I mean, it's still hard.
Yeah. And you're a mother of 2 children. You have 2 little boys, 4 and 8.
That'll humble you.
Yeah. Literally, I was, I hate when I say that fucking, and I feel
I'll
like
probably say it 100 times. You could do a literally count for me.
Literally. I was having my makeup done for my special mom jeans, and I was sitting in the makeup chair, and everybody was just doting on me, like, you're so gorgeous, you're amazing. And I was like, you know what's funny is in 12 hours, I'll be wiping asses and snotty nose, and somebody will yell at me and throw something at me. And not my husband, my children. Boys are so fucking abusive. Yeah, it's very humbling, and it's very grounding.
Yes. My little one in particular. My older one, maybe it's because he's older. Like, he is so sweet to me. Like, loving, like, what do you need, mommy? Can I help you? I mean, like, he still can be like an asshole sometimes, but he's so good to me. And my little one, like, tries to make me cry.
That's amazing.
Like, he will look at me and be like, I don't like you. Or if a song will come on the radio and I'm like, I love this, I'll start singing. He's like, turn it off.
Oh yeah.
Like, what the hell did I ever do to you?
Yeah. Don't sing, mommy. They hate when I sing. They don't want me to do anything.
They don't just have joy.
No joy. Yeah, they get upset when you're a person.
They get upset when you're happy.
Yeah. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, she's a host on Pajama Pants, a podcast, which you guys have heard me talk about. I love it.
Love that you love it.
I love it. I love you, Rob, and Kasim have such great chemistry. And it's been a really fun experience watching you guys grow as podcasters, as friends, and you figure out your dynamic. And
well, because Kasim and I literally met on our first episode.
Oh,
we walked in and sat across the table from each other, and I was like, nice to meet you. I remember sitting looking around and being like, what are we about to do? I don't know this guy. It's crazy. And it's so cool to see how far we've come and all that we've like been able to share. And it's a cool experience podcasting, because it is such an intimate conversation that you just really forget that it's going to be put out there. And we really go all over the place. You know, we get super deep and we get super dirty and super weird.
I love you guys because I understand the experience people have when they listen to Your Mom's House or this podcast. It's called parasocial. I learned that. You're social, but you're not really in a one-on-one relationship. It's like, so I feel like that way about you guys that other people feel about my podcast.
Sure.
Where I'm like, like I know you all on a personal level, but I love the show world as well. It's cute. It's fun. You guys are good. You're good people, and it comes through.
That's nice.
You can tell when people are fucking bullshit too when they're podcasting. You're like, nah, that's not true.
For sure. For sure. I had actually this girl that was like on the COVID team, I believe. on Big Sky, the show that I work on last year, and she came up to me her last day and was like, "I'm leaving. I'm putting the face to the name because COVID, you don't get to like see anyone basically."
Yeah.
She's like, "I just want you to know I'm an OG Pajama Pants listener, and I love you guys so much." And when somebody tells me that more than anything else, like even Sopranos, I'm like, "Oh my God, you get me! Like, you're my people."
Yeah.
Like anyone that listens to our show, there might be like only 800 of them, but like those people are like, I feel such a connection.
Absolutely, because it's a deeper connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they see you on the street, they fucking see.
Yes, you're right.
You feel it. They're like, "Mommy," they
like, "Did Jack make you cry today?" Like, yes.
Yeah, it's a deeper connection, which is kind of fucking really special and cool.
Yeah.
God, there's so much I want to ask you about, but let's talk about nannies.
Yeah,
you're a
you
working
found
mom.
me mine.
Yeah, thank
Let's
God.
first off say that you were literally an answer from the universe because I got this job on Big Sky. I flew my mom out because we had no help yet here in Austin. We were going on like 9 months of no nannies, no help.
My God.
SOS. And then I get this job. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? So I fly my mom out from Long Island. We're going to try and figure it out. And you just so happened to text me. And you were like, "I just met this great lady, but we already hired somebody. Here's her number."
Yeah.
Because this is actually a funny story. Prior to, I'd asked somebody for a nanny recommendation. She's like, "My nanny's daughter will nanny." I'm like, "Great." I call my husband. I'm like, I took care of it. I have somebody coming on Friday. Don't worry. Apparently she's wonderful. He texted me. He's like, "Jamie, I hope this doesn't sound mean."
It will. It's okay. We love me.
He's like, "She can't stop sweating. She's
I love it.
She's,
Let's go.
She's at least 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And she has no teeth."
Wow.
And I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Wow.
And he's like, "She's just sitting on the couch staring at the boys and they keep knocking on my office door. Like, who is this woman?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I had to leave. I was in a panic." I'm like, "What do you mean she has no teeth?" Because when I met her, she had a mask on. So he's like, "She has no teeth. Jack will not play with her.
Of course.
She keeps asking them to watch TV. And, they're little boys. They don't want to sit down and watch TV. So thank God you heavenly angel texted me Norma's number. And she's still with us, almost a year later. She's wonderful.
See, that's the thing is the nanny world is full of pitfalls. Like there's a lot of little things I've learned over the years. Like I don't want a bitch that's too young.
No.
I don't trust the young. And I know some families, they love to have like a 20-year-old. I don't trust a 20-year-old. They don't have like a sense yet.
They don't want to be this either.
No.
Do you know what I mean? A lot of the time, like they're waiting for something else to happen. They can leave you at the drop of a hat and your kids get attached to people.
Of course. There's so many things I look for, but we had a no teeth. 300 pounds
no teeth.
And sweaty. And like
I think that was like the trifecta. It was, you know what I mean? Like one of them would have been
one of the
fine,
three is
but
okay.
all three together. And like kids do a hazing period with it.
Yeah.
Always too. Yeah. So you have to have someone that knows and can get through the hazing period and doesn't take stuff personal.
Yeah. That is all three. Because so just to dovetail, so we all had COVID, the early strand. My husband had broken his arm and his leg and was in the basement. We couldn't move him because of his broken condition. So then he brought home COVID from the hospital. I got the COVID. The kids kind of did, not really. Like it passed over them. We're all fucked up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, please send me a nurse, somebody to take care of my husband who's down there, all of us. I sent this woman, bless her heart, as they say. Bless it. Because she came and thank God, Charles Manson could have showed up and I'd be like, yes, just watch them sleep. I don't care. She fed my children Filipino hot dogs for 3 meals a day because I told her, I made the mistake of telling her, I really like those little pink things. And then she just fed them every meal, like a hot dog on the plate. And I was like, okay.
You're like, they don't like them that much.
Oh, and then she called my dog Bisky because she couldn't say Bitsy, and I just let her do it because I was like, I don't fucking care. We had a Christmas tree that she broke down. She took a saw and then sawed off all the branches.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and I just let her do it because I was like, I'm sick.
Like she took it out back with a saw?
Nope, in my living room, and then sawed the tree. And I was like, fine, I don't care. But the breaking point for me was she would wake up in the morning and then she would stay in her pajamas until about 2 or 3 p.m. And that was okay. But one time she bent over and wasn't wearing any underwear under her gown, and I was like, I was still on board. Nightgown? Yeah, a nightgown. And she was like,
that's awfully comfortable.
Awfully comfy. It was
that's getting like real
intimate.
Yeah.
And she was with us for like 4 or 5 days, and I'm like, you're already in your sleeping shirt, essentially.
Yeah.
But again, I was so sick with COVID, and my kids were just like, they're 2 and 4, so they were running around. They can't sit and watch fucking TV.
No.
So I was like, just keep them alive was my mantra. Just keep them alive until I can get better. So the breaking point for me was that, so she showed up wearing teeth, right? She had teeth. And then she suddenly didn't. Like suddenly.
And she just didn't put them in that
just
day.
And then stopped putting them in for the.
It's jarring. Like, no disrespect. That's terrible. It happen if you have no teeth. I'm so sorry, but
put them in. Put them in, because you know how scary it is for kids especially, but for me as your employer, like, I want you to wear clothes and I want you to wear teeth.
Well, it's misleading. Yeah. She came in with teeth. It's unfair. It's actually not right.
I'm like, yo, you don't care that you don't have teeth in the world? Like, I feel like, and I understand you may not have money, but you can go to like dental colleges and have students work on you, and it's a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
You can.
But she had them.
That's right. I forgot she did.
She came in with them.
She was like, I'd prefer not to today.
No, that's fraud.
Yeah, but I understand overweight with children, it's kind of hard because how is she going to chase after them?
Well, we could figure that out. But like, she he said she kept shaking her head and like shrugging her shoulders. Like, you try. You try to engage with them. Okay, guys, let's try this. Like, there was just nothing.
I don't like that. No. I don't like lazy. Lazy's inexcusable. But no teeth. She had no teeth or 1 or 2?
He said no teeth. I never got to actually see it because she never came back.
Good. Cut her loose. No, one valuable lesson I've learned too with Nanny Sitch, if you're listening to, is like, if you get that stuff isn't right with them, cut them. It's not going to get better. I remember I had a nanny one time when my second child was first born. We have our lady that's been with us since Ellis was 4 months old. She's our ride or die. Like, this woman.
I met her at your house.
She's an angel from God. And we take good care of her, and she's our family member. But the second person we tried to bring in to help our primary lady with the newborn. And I remember we were using a passy, and she ripped the passy out of her mouth and was like, I don't believe in pacifiers for children. And I was like, you're fired. Like, that's all I needed to see, because I've tried to make it work with people. I'm like, it's not working. This tells me I know everything I need about you. You're done.
Yep.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. No, when you're going to tell somebody how to parent,
Nah.
Because I think we've had, like, I had no nanny for my first son's till he was 4 when I was pregnant to have Jack. I had like babysitters here and there, but I didn't really fully go back to work. My husband was playing baseball. I'm just stubborn. And like, I was like, if I'm not working, I'm going to do it all myself, which was just a bad idea, but I learned the hard way. And then our nanny, Maria, stayed with us for 3 years until we moved here. And she was the best. And she, like, I knew her from a friend of mine that had moved away. And so it was sort of a seamless thing. And she actually really helped me understand boundaries and all of that. But I have this sensitivity of, like, because I didn't grow up with any nannies or babysitters. It was like my mom, my dad, and my grandma.
Kidding me?
I'm like so afraid of them loving the nanny.
I know.
And I work. That's what Maria helped me with, because she saw me getting like really sensitive about it. And I remember her sitting me down one day and being like, Jamie, I love your kids, but not that much. Like, I don't want to take them home with me.
Yes.
I will protect them and make sure that they are always safe and happy. And I will always remind them that you are their mother. And I was like, okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I was a crazy bitch. Like, I don't know how to do this. But our nanny now, I love so much, but she does these things where everything is like, oh, Jack, don't do that. Mommy will get mad at us.
Oh,
Let's not do that because mommy will get mad. And I'm now like becoming this like
you're
bad
the bad guy.
And I've tried so many times to be like, hey, let's just have it be like a rule because you need your boundaries and like you need to tell him that that's not okay. And she'll go, and she'll just keep doing
Mommy
it.
doesn't want you to.
She's so amazing in every other way that I just like, should I let this one go?
Yeah, can I tell you
don't know.
something? So two-part. There's two-part.
Help
God,
me,
I'm so stoked
please.
about this. Gaps in the diet shouldn't be ignored. Over 90% of women aged 19 to 50 are not getting enough vitamin D from their diet. 95% are not getting their recommended daily intake of key omega-3s. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus vitamin was formulated by exhaustive research to help fill nutrient gaps in the diets of women ages 18 plus. It is formulated with nutrients to help support brain health, bone health, blood health, and promote antioxidant support. But Ritual didn't stop there. They invested in a gold standard university-led clinical trial to prove the impact of Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin. The results? Essential for Women 18 Plus was shown to increase vitamin D levels by 43% and omega-3 DHA levels by 41% in 12 weeks. Plus, Ritual just released Plus, a gut health supplement with clinically studied prebiotics, probiotics, and a postbiotic, all in one minty delayed release capsule. I love taking my Ritual multivitamins, and I like that it's minty. Man, there's nothing worse than trying to wolf down a huge pill, and it tastes terrible, and I love the ease. Right now, Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/WMMA and turn healthy habits into a ritual. That's 10% off at ritual.com/WMMA.
Supplements are an important part of a well-rounded health routine. Care of is a subscription service that takes out all the guesswork by shipping high-quality, personalized vitamins, supplements, and powders conveniently to your door every month. Getting started with Care of is easy. Just take a short, in-depth quiz about your lifestyle and health goals, and Care of will provide a personalized recommendation so there's no more confusion around finding a routine that works for you. Care of helps you start or add to a sustainable and enjoyable wellness routine aimed at helping you build healthy habits and feel real results. Care of daily vitamin packs are made of plant-based compostable film, so you can stress less about your impact on the planet. I love Care of because I just went on their website. I took the quiz. It was super fast and super convenient. And I like getting these cute little packets. And I know that I'm doing everything I can to keep me healthy. And it's just so easy. I mean, why not try it? For 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code WMMA5050. That's takecareof.com and enter code WMMA5050 for 50% off your first order. I have to write these things down. This is what Rob does too. So that okay, number 1, asking for help is huge. And I know there's women listening to this that are judging and going like, how dare you have nannies? And this is they're raising their kid. No. What you're saying when you're pregnant with your second child and you have a toddler running around is so incredibly hard.
So hard. With no family around.
I have no family.
No help.
But first of all, we have no family. So like you can't do it all. No one woman. It used to be that you have generational help. Grandma, neighbors, other women in the village.
Yeah.
And that. So I think a nanny's a valuable, you can use a nanny the way you want to use the nanny. They don't have to just raise your kids without you. Like you can use her to be there. Like if you want to hang out with your kids, she can be there. And then you can, sometimes they send her home like, I want to kick it with these 2 animals. Go home.
Last Friday, it was 4:00. I was like, you can go home. She's like, really? I was like, yeah, I want to be with my kids. Also, I'm starting to work again.
Yeah.
And when that comes up, I will say when I was working, she was back because I was back and forth. When I was home, she would do their laundry or help with dinner because I wanted to play with them.
Yeah.
I wanted to
That's
be
how
there.
you can use a nanny so that they're not, because I don't want other people raising my kids.
No.
Another nanny, other people, one lady raising. I don't believe that.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two, they can never love, because I had the same issue when I had my first kid, and that's when we brought our nanny on. And I was like, he's going to become more attached to her. He's going to love her more. And then my therapist was like, Christina, think of your parents and how awful they were. And I was like, yeah. She's like, yet you still love them, right? And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, no matter. And we're nice to our kids. Yeah. Can you imagine how much they're going to love us? You're an irreplaceable part of their hearts and their souls. And that woman will always be second place or third place or fifth place. They're going to be special, but also you want them to be bonded to this other woman so that when you do have to leave, you're like, okay,
they're safe.
They're safe. Yeah. They feel good with that lady. Okay. And then number three, you being the bad guy. I actually relish being the bad guy.
Really?
I like
Do
this.
I need to step into this role more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the idea that mommy
you can't
says,
fuck with mommy.
You know why? Because then they like that. They actually like it when you're
safer with boundaries.
I don't know what Cutter is like with
yeah, he's harsh too.
Oh,
in a good meaning, like he's like, no, absolutely not. Like he has very firm boundaries.
Yeah.
But what's weird is he's tougher on Bo.
Bo's the younger or the
older?
8 years old.
Bo, I mean, I'll call Bo out, but I see Jack is a lot. He has a lot of anxiety. He has a lot of issues that we have to parent him very specifically for, that we've been working with people on. And I think he wears you out so hard that if Bo does one thing, Cutter will like snap at him. But I want to be like, yo, he's a kid too. So I think he thinks I'm soft on Bo. Because I just have a different perspective on it. Also, I feel like dads are tougher on their firstborn sons usually.
That's an interesting point.
My dad was on my oldest brother. He was tougher on him than the middle. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? They should know better.
I just feel like maybe there's a subconscious thing where they know they're kind of being a little too hard and fucking up. So like the second one, they're like, they've learned and they're doing better, but they've already kind of established like this type of relationship with the first one. I don't know. I know it pays me to say this stuff. So I could feel like kind of.
So what I found is that if the second boy falls in line,
yes,
the first one's got to be tight, high and tight, and then the second boy goes, oh, I can't fuck with it, because Ellis will set the tone.
But then that's where I'm confused because Bo is like obsessed with me. Yeah. So why isn't that doing that?
That's the younger one.
I mean, he like if I leave, he'll be like, where is she? He's like, what can I do to fuck with her?
So he's in a phase where he's rejecting mommy, which is important. He needs to show you, because he pushes back on you. I think it means that
he takes everything
right.
out on me.
That's
everything.
Good. That's
everything.
Good. They're supposed to. Okay. No, that's normal. He needs to trust that you can contain all that.
Okay.
No, you want that. That's what I've heard. I don't know. That's what the shrink says.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my younger one's obsessed with me, and the older one comes and goes with it. Like sometimes he's kissy lovey, sometimes not. But the younger one, I'm having an issue where he gets into my bed at like 4 a.m. or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that you had that.
Yeah. So Jack was waking up like multiple times in the night. So now we got bed like a trundle bed.
Ooh.
So, because I asked him, I was like, dude, why are you doing this? Like, why do you keep coming? And he said, I don't want to be alone. He's just at that developmental stage where he's aware that he's alone in his room. He doesn't like it, which I can't argue with. I get it. It's scary. So when Cutter and I are going to go to bed, we'll now take out the trundle and we'll pick him up and put him in there. Pick him up just enough that I was like, you're in Bo's room now.
Oh.
And then he doesn't come in our room anymore.
See, that would work. So I put my two boys in the same room. And now here's the cutest thing just started happening. They're sleeping together in the same bed.
That's the cutest.
I know. But still, Juju gets up and comes to
He's
mommy.
like up at 4 a.m. or no?
He just runs over and just wants to snuggle. But you know what? On the other hand, I'm like, this won't last forever.
This is true. I know. Yeah, Bo, if Cutter gets out of town, he'll sleep with me. But other than that, I know it doesn't last.
I want him to snuggle with me until he's 40 and big stinky man. No, I'm just kidding.
Please no.
But I do want.
That's like one of the people you watch on TikTok. And
No,
make
I
fun
know.
of.
I
Don't
know.
do that.
I know. They're just so cute.
I know.
But yeah, he'll never love you the way. I mean, he'll never love Nanny the way that they love you. That's like not even.
Thank
a
you for
fucking
making me feel
possibility. So I read Men Are Listened To. I can't lie. Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus.
Tell me everything.
I know. Like basically, guys are just like emotionally cripples and retarded, and they don't want to talk about their feelings, so they'll just like go away and like lift weights, and then they're like, hey, and they just run away from you when they're upset. Whereas we want to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't take it personally when they run away to their cave.
But see, Cutter and I are we're not the norm in that. Well, I'll want to communicate. And I'll tell him, like, dude, I'm trying to talk this out with you, but you're like unable to answer me. Like, can you have a conversation? Are you okay? But sometimes when we get in arguments, I need space. Like, I like time. I like to walk away and cool off before we communicate, and he will literally follow me wherever I go.
So he's the woman in that situation, and you're the man. You're like, I want to fucking go in my cave, sort it out, and then he wants to be in the heat of the moment with you. And that's no bueno.
I'm warning. I'm like, dude, don't follow me. Like, this is not gonna end well. Like, nothing as good is gonna come out of this. Like, I don't want to talk. Like, I'm not leaving you. I just like I don't want to talk, and he can't handle it. I'm sure there's some like past thing in his life and like why he is that way, but we've been together over 10 years. He can't. It like scares him
when
you're
you're mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have that too with Tommy because it's an abandonment thing.
Yeah,
you're like, if you're mad at me, it means that you're gonna hate me forever. You're gonna leave me, and then I'll be all alone. So it's like this very unconscious, terrifying thing.
Yeah,
when you get into a fight,
and I all the time.
Yeah,
they're gonna be married 50 years this summer. So it's like that doesn't scare me.
50 years.
I know, crazy, right? You know what? They haven't slept in the same bedroom for 15 years. There's an article that came out that was how it's like actually kind of healthy for some relationships for people to sleep in separate bedrooms.
Well, here's the deal. It works for them, and that's fine. My parents did that. My mother and my stepfather did that the last 5 years, but then they got divorced at 17 years. But like, here's the thing. There's a certain age where like, do we even want to bang anymore? Like, is banging the priority?
Right. No. I'm already there.
Right. And women, and especially once that we hit menopause. Anyway, I was looking at the Kelly McGillis model of life, and
what's the Kelly McGillis model?
Thank
of
you for
life?
asking.
Is this why she wasn't in Top Gun?
Well, she just kind of dipped out of acting and let her looks go. And I think which like, yeah, of course.
Some magical screen though. I mean, Tom Cruise looked like he was 35, and so did Jennifer Connelly.
I mean, but the chemistry between Kelly McGillis and Cruise was undeniably beautiful. But so anyway, so she's now a lesbian. So she was married to 2 men, and then was like, I think I'm going to go for a woman on this 3rd run. But I kind of get it now. I never got it until now because I'm like, yeah, men are like, they're so incompatible with us on so many levels. And when you start
so she's like, I don't want to fuck anymore. So I just want a friend to hang out with every day. Right. I get it.
I mean, maybe it's not even about eating beaver. It's just about being married to your best friend.
Yeah.
So maybe
I know a female couple that is like barely sexual and they love each other and they're so happy. And
this is what I'm saying. And that maybe that's what the Golden Girls was really all about. Is them being like,
they were so stoked. They were like, we figured it out.
Yeah. Like, just live with women. You don't have to deal with like how emotionally retarded men are.
I know.
Because you see it when you raise sons. You see it when you get together to raise children. Like the men teach them how to deal with the outside world, is what the thinking is, and then mom teaches them how to be on the inside.
Yeah.
We're in charge of the inside world, the emotional world. We're everything in there. So no, they're very necessary roles. Obviously, I'm just kidding. But maybe once Tom is dead, I'll just.
I think that's a really good plan.
Yeah.
You, depending where I'm in life, let me know.
If I don't want to get laid anymore,
Right,
I
then call
probably
me.
won't at menopause. After menopause, right? Like, do you even want a dick after menopause?
I mean, I haven't been there yet, but I
Yeah.
think it's very likely
That you
that you will not.
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
It's been a long time. You know what I mean? There's a certain point, like,
I know.
been there.
So where are you when you're born? I look at you as the ghost of Christmas future because I think from 4 on, I chill.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't stress about going to restaurants. We like, or airplane rides aren't like hellish or scary. Although we just went back to LA for the first time. And I guess because of COVID, we didn't realize Jack's never been in a hotel.
Right.
So when we pulled up to the hotel, he was like, "Is this our new house?" We're like, "No, buddy, it has lots of rooms and people come here vacation." And he's like, "Does everybody live here?" Like, we live mind. It made me take a step back and be like, "Oh, I guess this is like a weird concept."
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's a disgusting concept.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Right.
Have you ever seen a pillow without a case on it?
No.
All your head juices leak out, and your
Ooh.
mattress is filthy. It's full of
You've
everything.
ruined my life.
You're welcome.
This is terrible.
Go ahead and Google like what a pillow looks like. But anyway, it's a filthy concept.
It is.
It teaches you not to think about how gross hotels.
Oh.
See all that heads filthy. Take out your stuff. Anyway, so you
Yes, 4 and 8. So Bo now is at this place where I actually like having conversations and hanging out with him. Like, we'll play a board game, or we're watching the original Top Gun together right now. And
what do you do during the sexy scene?
we haven't gotten there yet. We've only done about 40 minutes a week at time, but we just last night started it. So 40 minutes in, we haven't had any sexy time. But I mean, I watched it at his age. You know,
It's
the 90s were yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A lot of tongue
I'm
in
warned.
that. They really French, deep Frenches.
Yeah.
It's a lot of deep Frenchy. And you're an actress. When you have to French, they really did real. Do you really put your tongue in someone else's mouth?
I've done both. It depends on like the type of project, like how much you're willing to like put into it or go for it. You're like, this little movie doesn't really need that passion. You know what I'm saying? But Bo is very girl crazy. Always has been. He has a girlfriend named Grace.
Aww.
And she's fierce. So I've been hearing all about her. He came home one day and was like, "I want to propose to her." It's like, okay, whatever that means in your world, great. How can I help? And he's like, "I want to give her jewelry." And I was like, "Well, I don't have any rings that are going to fit this 7-year-old. So let me go in my jewelry box, see what I have." So I have like this costume, pretty like gold-plated heart with little pave diamonds that I probably had since I'm like 17, like in the back of my jewelry box. I'm like, "Here, you can give this to her." We put a little Ziploc bag. He brings it to school. He's so excited. Pick him up from the bus stop. I'm like, "How'd it go?" He looked so upset. I was like, "Oh no." And he's like, "Mom, when the way you put it in the bag, it got all tangled."
Oh,
and when I gave it to her, she opened it and looked at it and said, "Untangle it and give it to me right." So she gave it to him to bring it back home. And I was like, "This girl, I will absolutely untangle this necklace and put it back right." Right? So I spent all night with like my tweezer and like my CVS glasses, getting all the knots out, put it properly in the Ziploc, you know, where you put the necklace halfway out and close it. Now it will not get tangled.
Oh, that's smart.
Brought it to her. She wears it every day. They've had spicy kisses, to which I've asked, "What does that mean?" He holds her face. Oh, no, she holds his face, and his hands are on her hips. Apparently, it happens behind the tree at recess.
Wow.
But then we were going to. So now I'm hearing about this girl, and they haven't met her. She lives in our neighborhood. Like, she's like this mystery. And so we go to school because Bo got this special word. And so we went up to the classroom to say hi. Jack door to say hi. This bitch sits at her desk and just stares at us. It's like the only kid that doesn't get up. And I'm like, I love her more. I'm so desperate for this girl's attention. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know her.
Yeah, me too. I'm
She
so insecure.
Like, didn't even like look all around. Didn't even come up to meet the parents, right? She's awesome.
Wow.
And Bo actually started the year with her best friend. And I asked this happened. Grace decided she loved me and told Harper that that's what she wanted. And Harper stepped aside.
This
right?
Grace is going to run the world.
I love it.
So this
can't
is
wait to meet her.
8 years old is what, second grade?
Yeah.
This is pretty,
right.
I'm trying
But
to picture
Bo's
us.
always been super like
Into girls.
every year he actually in kindergarten, Kelly Clarkson's daughter was his girlfriend back in LA, and him and her were so tight.
Wow.
Pick notes in the backpacks, everything.
Gee, he's going to be a ladies
Yeah.
guy. Like he's into it.
He's got swag. Yeah. He wears a shoe now. He told us he wanted a shoe with his numbers and his baseball number. He won't take it off.
He's got them Dykstra jeans. That's what that is. That's
He has
the
lightning
swag.
bolts on the side. Yeah,
that's
it's in
swag.
his blood.
That's Dykstra swag. You can't. You know what?
Well, I'm gonna hone it.
Yeah.
I'm mine the Dykstra swag.
But think about it. So it's half you, and then third generation. So it's diluted
Yes,
enough.
you're right.
That he's got the fire, but not the like. It's just enough Dykstra to make him like
1000%
fucking rad.
Yes.
Oh, did you love that?
Yes.
You know, this is 6, and they're just so tall and lean.
Yes.
And they're just like, they're always in their underwear or naked.
Yes.
And Ellis he's got a necklace I got him that says his name, and then a Pac-Man necklace because he's so into Pac-Man. And I remember just looking at him, he was just standing, in their cute little toddler bras.
Yes.
And Tom was like, look at him. He's just like a little Svengali.
They're so lean. And you have to see their muscle.
They're just so beautiful. Like their little boys are just so
They are.
special. I can't even, I'm trying to think of Ellis and Julian having girl crushes. I'm like, that makes me jealous more than the nanny. Cause I'm like,
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
maybe that's fun. Talk to the therapist about that. Sorry. I'm sorry, Julian. I know what you're going to talk about. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm like, great. Like, this bitch should get up and pay her respects.
Oh,
See, I'd be opposite. Would you
that's the
fucking say
type
hi
of
to
girl
me?
you're with. Like that's who I want him with. I want someone
She
that's
got
gonna run his shit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I want a girl that's gonna be like, no,
No.
give it to me right.
Look at you.
You know?
You know what I love about you is you're what Rob Eiler loves brunettes, right? And I call them grumpy East Coast brunettes, like the grumpy brunette, the East Coast bitches. Like you guys don't take shit from anybody. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
You
that.
respect the bitch.
Yes. I wish I had more of it in me, to be honest.
I think it's the thing.
It's in there, for sure. Yeah.
We see them, like I was in Atlantic City. I did the Borgata and I went to the buffet.
Oh,
the Borgata.
yeah.
And Rob's like, he's like, you should get puffs. And I'm like, it was good. But you see those women, they're the ones running the show.
They're loud.
And they tell the men what to do. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's an energy I'm familiar with that I've been around my whole life. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, look at Grace. That's the bitch. That's nice.
Grace.
Yeah. So, okay. I can't believe they're going to have a girlfriend soon. Let's do some do we have follow-ups from the last?
We do.
Let's do voicemail follow-ups. Let me know what the people are thinking. Such a diverse.
What's happening?
So many topics on this show.
I love it.
Hi, Mommy and Boys. I have a little quip to share with you apropos your discussion about peeing where you are.
Apropos.
I am currently in dead stop traffic. I left Target and I had to pee at Target. So I was like, I'll just pee when I get home. No, I am pregnant. I'm an idiot because now I'm in dead stop traffic and I have to pee so fucking bad that I'm about to dump out the water in my Yeti and use that.
Yeah.
Because it's painful, and I should have fucking peed at Target.
Yeah.
Pee where you are.
I always pee where I
God
am.
damn it.
Well, I learned the lesson the hard way. I got stuck in an elevator after my dental appointment. And I had the thought before I got in the elevator, you know, Christina, you have to pee. And then I got stuck in an elevator.
To that voice.
Yeah, the still small voice. Take a shit here. Pee here.
Yep.
So you always pee when you...
I always pee. I'll pee at Target all the time. The bathroom's right at the entrance of my Target. I love it. I'm like, yep, I'll be here a while. Might as well get this over with.
I know. What is this that I have to allow the uncomfortability? It's so yeah. Why enjoy the self.
Love yourself. Let yourself be. Damn it.
I think because like I was on an airplane, like last week, and I drank so much coffee and water, and then I was embarrassed about how many times I was going to the toilet. I was like, are people keeping track? Because like I've noticed, I'll be like, well, that bitch showed she had diarrhea.
Someone was.
Someone
was. For sure, someone was. Because there's some bored ass person on the plane that just like my husband's guy that would be like, this person's gone up like 8 times. Like he's just like. He just watches everything around him all the time.
Yeah.
So there's definitely someone like him.
You brought this up on pajama pants, which made me laugh so hard. You're like, Cutter has to point out like everything I'm doing. He'll be like, oh, Jamie, you're drinking the Fiji water again, huh? Like, so elaborate on this because I think I'm that asshole. I might be a Cutter.
It's Oh, you're going with the black bike shorts today. Yes. Like, why did like every time I walk into a room, we have to announce something about me? Like, can we just let me go? I'm in my house. Like, what? It's just Cutter. It's just one of his things. He's 32, but he's also like the oldest man I've ever met. And he's turning more and more into Larry David every day. Like he's a curmudgeon. He finds everything.
Yeah.
We call him Doomsday Dykstra. Like it's just always like the end of the world or the worst possible scenario of anywhere you're at. He will point it out.
That's me too. Yeah.
Really?
I'm a doomsdayer. Yeah. Tom always points it out. He's like, you always go to the worst possible scenario.
Yeah.
That's a childhood trauma thing. So for instance, what today, did he give you anything before you left? Has he done it to you today?
Yeah. I was eating like one of my kids' fig bars before I left the house. And he's like, oh, you eat those? Today? Yeah, I just did. Like he like had to know that fact about me. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think, what's the motivation behind the pointing out?
I don't know. I really don't know. What's interesting is Jack is a lot like with like anxiety. And we've been told by our occupational therapist, like, you have to just like get ahead of it, answer all the questions you need to, tell him all the information before he gets anywhere because it makes him feel safer. The less unknown, the better. So maybe that's a little bit of where it's coming from. Like he has to point out everything to feel safe.
So it's Cutter anxious? Is that where the kid gets the anxiety from? Yeah. That's interesting. Because I do it sometimes when I want to be an asshole, but in a playful...
Sure.
I'm trying to connect with you, but I don't know how.
Oh, that could be it a little bit because it's always playful.
Yes, it's playful in nature. I like to point out, like Zolo, for instance. I noticed that at lunchtime today, he had an extra button unbuttoned on his shirt. And in my mind, it's more of like acknowledging, hey, I noticed something new on you because I pay attention to you because I like you. But I think I embarrassed you, and I didn't mean to do that. So I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm nice and buttoned up now.
You made him self-conscious.
But I didn't mean to I didn't want you to button it up. I just wanted to be like, you're doing something
Isn't
new.
that interesting?
That's kind of interesting. But then I didn't want you to take it to shame. Okay.
All those years of therapy really worked. Look at that. But I mean it. Like you're able to like pinpoint. It's like so like could really people don't realize there's so much conflict out there, and sometimes it's just people coming from like their own good place.
It's all people coming from their own stupid
That's
place,
it.
and then you're in your own stupid place. Now, let me ask you this, because you're a very sweet lady, and I've always admired this about you, and especially listening to Pajama Pants. I think you're sensitive, empathetic, very sweet and loving, and I think that's what I lack. So that's why I liked. I think I am very sensitive, and emotional. But I'm saying that I have a hard time getting in touch with it. I feel like you're more in touch with your emotions and such as I am.
I think honestly that's because I live with MS, so I think it's like really just given me like such a different perspective, and it's like one of the things I'll say like it's actually given me, which I'm like very actually like in a fucked up way have it, because for so much of my life I was like so broken and nobody knew, and everyone just assumed I was like Amy, she's great, she's this and that, but I had such terrible shit going on inside me, and MS like slowed my body down so much, and it like in my quest for like healing and all of that stuff, I realized how much more emotional healing I needed, that it really, and when you live with something that like takes so much of your abilities away and gets in the way of what you want to do just in daily tasks, like you really just look and appreciate more. And I just, knowing that people had no idea what I was going through, I had no idea what anybody else is going through too. So it really just, I just look at people differently now, because I just don't know. I just assume everybody is fighting some type of battle every single day. So I think it's just made me a much nicer person. I mean, I was always nice, but like a genuinely kinder person, because I feel that connection with people. And for me too, I feel like I know whenever I feel seen or connected to somebody, what I'm actually doing is like forgiving myself in that moment. I think that's why it feels so good. So if I can be that for other people, I'm so happy to.
That's awesome. Yes, suffering, it really, I mean, it sucks, but then it purifies you in a weird, way. It does make you a better human.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I wish there was like another way around it, and I wish I didn't have to deal with it. But at the same time, so it also makes me look how great so many other things are in my life. Like I've just, I have many days where I choose not to focus on it, and it's great.
Yeah, you have to go forward.
Yeah.
What else can you fucking
Nothing.
do? So you're a nice lady. You have nice,
yeah, pretty nice manners.
I have a hypothetical for you. I need help with.
Tell me.
Is Heather here today?
Yeah, she is.
Bring her in for this. I don't want to embarrass her. Maverick yesterday as a staff.
Oh, what a fun outing.
So amazing.
It's so good. So good.
Such a good movie. You've seen the second.
Loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the danger zone all last night, just thinking about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So we all order our food, our popcorn, whatever, and I've got a big bowl of fresh popcorn, and then I put my M&Ms in there. It's just,
do it right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just white.
Yes.
And in my hands, I'm just gross. And then sweet little Heather, she's our social media lady, sweetest girl. I love Heather. Heather, I love you. She goes, "Can I have some of your popcorn?" In my heart, I didn't want to share the popcorn, but I did.
That's nice of you. Wow.
And, she's putting her hands in there.
Into her mouth and back in, yeah.
And we're in a post-COVID, and I'm trying to fight the germ thing that's happening to me. You know what I mean?
She put you in a bad spot.
She put me in a spot.
Yeah. That's a really bad spot.
Well, what would you have done? Because I don't want to.
I would have done what you said. I would have said yes. But that's like, they need to teach you that in school. Like that's your movie. I would have done the same as you, but with like my family or anyone else, like movie food is my food. Like I don't share what I eat in a movie. That's like my lab, my food. Zone. Like you get your own. I'll buy it for you. Like, but
see, I wanted to say that. I don't know why I'm whispering. She's going to hear this. I wanted to suggest like, should I buy you? guy, come over here, get Heather.
But how long would that have taken you
That's
to be
what
like,
I'm
I'm sorry, no,
saying.
it's like a weird, like if that would have taken a minute or two.
That's
You're
what
in the
I'm
middle of a movie.
Yeah.
What are you
Too
gonna do?
late.
You gotta go. Yeah.
You just got to go, yeah, and then deal with your own mental patient
Did it
thoughts.
fuck? Did it fuck up
It
any
fucked
of
me
your
up.
movie
And
experience?
eventually I
That's
was
a
like, you
bummer.
know what, you take the thing.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I gave it to her, which is probably better because I didn't want to eat the
It
whole thing.
limited your
My
M&M
calories. Yeah, so fine. It was a win-win. But I was like, I kept thinking about it last night. I'm like, should I have asserted a boundary there? But no, sometimes it's not worth it. She's literally the nicest
she's
person in
clean.
Studio Jeans. And obviously,
Right.
she's a girl. So she's way more
Right.
hygienic than...
And I'm not even a germ
boopers,
person,
really.
but I just feel like
I'm not a
yeah.
germy person, but in a post-COVID world, I mean, we just got over all of this.
Yeah.
So my alertness was a little high.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened.
Traumatized.
Yeah.
It's traumatized. I was thinking about it all night long.
No more. Heather's not invited to the
She's not
movies
invited.
anymore.
Heather, you're I'll invite her. I was
You're
really,
just not going to sit next to her.
Yeah, from now on. Who sit it? Nadav, you sit next to me because I know you won't eat my food. Zolo's good.
I'm
Actually,
also very clean.
You're all very clean. We had this discussion.
Clean
He gets
here.
so mad at me when I say that he's filthy. Yeah. I also have another epiphany I wanted to share with you guys. It's called the Pajitsky effect. This is where you live one your whole life and then suddenly you have an epiphany and your whole world is shattered. I have one for you. Ready?
Right. Yes.
Okay. The band name Boys to Men
Yes.
literally means boys who grew into men.
Right.
Didn't know that.
What did you think it was?
I have no idea. I was like, boys like our band, boys to men like our band. Like everybody can like our band. You could be a boy or a man. That's what I thought.
You didn't think it had anything to do with the 4 men, young boys that were turning into men. No. Wow. Wow. I can't share that with you. I think I was in on it from the beginning.
You knew. I sensed that.
I never thought it was anything different. Yeah, so I think I know. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've had any
fucking
of those.
idiot. I'm a fucking idiot. So
I'll make you feel better. I'll think of a
I know
Pajitsky
that you
and
have
text
silly
it to
thoughts
you.
too. I hear you on Pajama Pen. You're always very open about you're like,
yeah.
what? Like, I don't know a lot of porno genres either, and I know the boys love to torture you. Like,
Every once in a while, they'll just throw it out. Jamie, what's a BCJ?
Samesies. So I have that issue too, because we're not in that world most of the time. We're just
No.
wiping kids' asses and stuff. Here's an old school one that I had for the longest time. I didn't know what the store Smart and Final sold. I thought it was a store where it was like last call for these items.
I would have thought too.
Right? Oh, okay.
It's a grocery store? No.
I think so. It's an office.
Yeah, it's like a.
Oh, it is a grocery. Terrible name.
Terrible
name for a grocery store. Nothing to do with food, or it doesn't sound like a nice farmer.
No,
that
I thought it
brought
was a
you the
clearance,
food.
like a clearance
Yeah,
store, and
yeah,
yeah, you're smart, but all sales are final. Like, you're smart to shop here, but all sales are final.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Like, you're smart, getting it cheaper.
Yeah.
Is it a cheap grocery store?
It's like a below Costco.
Oh.
Yeah,
Do
you're
they
smart.
exist?
Yeah.
All sales
Terrible name.
So
I'm with you on that one.
But this one's getting even better. So Nadav, we were talking about it. Can I share the one that tell her what you thought? Tell her this one's amazing.
Yeah. So during lunch, we were talking about dumb waiters, and I didn't realize like they were talking about like there's like an elevator that you could move food from one floor to another, and that's called a dumb waiter. And an epiphany had in my head. I'm like, oh, that's what a waiter is? Because I thought it was literally those like figurines or statues of waiters,
Like
that
the monkey
just
butler?
hold the tray. And that,
I don't think I've even heard the
you
term dumbwaiter.
Oh, a dumbwaiter is in Webster. Remember that TV show Webster? They had a dumbwaiter, and like it's a pulley thing that goes from one floor to the next. That's a dumbwaiter.
Oh.
Yeah. You thought that was dumb.
so I saw this, and I thought this was a dumb waiter because it's a waiter without a brain, which is what makes it
I like the dog one. I would buy that one. Yeah, but that makes sense. But tell her about the shop. BASS.
This is the
Yeah, this one was even dumber.
This Valtrex suppress the immune system. I like to see your
that's the last show.
your search history here.
Right. It's I always pronounce it Bass Pro Shop, which I guess
Yes.
is what I'm told.
He thought it was the Bass Pro.
The Bass Pro. What did you think was the Bass Pro?
Just like bases and stuff.
Like an entire warehouse. Because those are big stores.
And there was like a
Bass
fish.
Pro Shops
Yeah.
are fucking enormous.
Yeah, it's a warehouse of just bass guitars, is what he thought.
You know what? I knew that there was a fish as the logo. And I'm like, oh,
Even
all right.
with the fish?
They're really leaning.
I mean, it
into
says outdoor woods underneath them.
Yeah, you know, I never
they're
really-
like a area of Disneyland.
I've never been inside of one.
Really?
Have you?
Yes, because when my husband would play minor league baseball and I was with a little baby or a small toddler and have no idea what to do in these towns, I would find places like Bass Pro Shop that looked like a cool, fun, interesting place for him, and we would just walk around him. His
Oh, yeah, there's like a
favorite
pyramid.
place. Yeah.
Bass Pro
my
Pyramid.
God. Can you play on that? Is that like a
Yeah, like he
wow.
would get inside one of the Raptors and like
Oh, that's
sit in
cool.
it for a little bit. You know, he loved sports, obviously, and he loved Dick's Sporting Goods. And when he was like,
You
just
paused
over 2
way
years,
at the wrong place there. You were like, he loved dicks.
I know, well, because we have these videos of him when he's like 2.5, and we would just drive to the mall because like, what else are we gonna do
Yeah.
in Potomac or whatever? And he would just run down and go, Dicks, Dicks. I'll send you a video of that. We have so many of them.
Before we do these Pajitsky effects, I'm going to ask you a series of questions
Okay.
to determine whether or not my kids are normal.
Okay.
Because I think every mom secretly worries, like, oh my God, is
Yep.
everyone's kid fucking... Okay. I feel like my boys fuck me up physically on a daily basis. Like, even if it's like they hug me, but it'll be like, ow, like you just pulled my
Yes.
hair.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
like, Mom, I love you. And they jump on you and they
Yes.
like lick my face. They blow in my eyes.
Yes.
So yours do that
Yes.
too. Does that ever slow down or?
Yes. Bo doesn't do it anymore, Jack.
Okay. Bo doesn't do it anymore. Just yeah. So my little one too. Yeah. The other one's mellowed out. Okay. Number 2. My boys play a game called Breaking Toys. They just throw toys on the ground and smash them to
No.
pieces. Okay. Not
But
normal.
I feel like other people might.
My boys are psychos, maybe is what it is. Okay. Okay. Check on that one. Toy breaking abnormal. Okay. My boys will a lot of naked time. They love to be naked.
No, my kids do not.
Well, so far
They like to be
2
in their
hours.
underwear though.
But
They'll
not
like
nude.
being no.
Wow.
They both actually like to be fully clothed all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wonder,
But I've heard that boys like to be naked.
It's always naked. Do your boys play with their peeners a lot?
Yeah. Oh, my little ones always. Right.
Yeah.
Like to the point where we've just stopped asking, do you have a puppy? Because it really has nothing to do with that.
Okay,
And then, but I feel like I have to stop them from like grabbing each other's.
Yes. Yes.
Like I'm like, no.
Yes.
We don't do that.
You can touch your own penis.
That's right.
And then I do like to tell them who's allowed to touch their
Yes,
penis. Like,
yes.
Mommy, daddy,
Doctor,
if we're there. Yeah.
right?
All this, like, no
I
one
know.
else.
God, all these things we have to do now.
I know. It's so scary. Okay. Let me see what else. My curse.
Every once in a while.
Okay. Oh, mine's
Bo's like very aware, but Bo is at the age where we curse in front of our kids all the time, but Bo's aware that he shouldn't say it.
Yeah, Ellis is
but
like that.
but he can read and write, so he will spell it out sometimes or be like, "Oh, mommy, I saw that word over there." But he's chill about it.
Okay.
Jack's still young and cute enough that when he says it, it's the best.
It's hilarious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tom talked about this on Two Bears, but I told Julian, the younger one, that the worst word in the English language is darn it. darn it. And every time he says, darn it, I go, oh, don't say darn it.
So
Don't
that's what
you
he'll
say
say.
darn it. No. So then he'll go fucking darn it. And then totally negates. He'll be like,
Wow.
fucking. And I won't react. And then he'll go, darn it. And I'll go, oh, don't you say darn it. Don't you say darn it. Fucking. Anyway. Okay. My children are obsessed with the movie Turning Red.
They saw it. They didn't vibe with it.
Wow. You're fucking space aliens. Yeah, it's about
They love Bad Guys, the movie Bad Guys.
Oh,
that
yeah,
just
I
came
like
out.
that
They
one.
love
That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm trying to think of something else. Well, at least they hurt you. That helps.
Oh my God, yes.
Because I'm like, this
Do
is
I still
violence.
have a bruise right here? Is it, or has it gone away?
No, it's gone. Was that from a kid?
I was rocking a bruise for a long time. Yeah. Oh yeah, from Jack. Just grabbing me. He uses me as leverage to like get up places, or like when we're swimming, especially like he'll swim to me, like he knows how to swim, but like he still like wants to grab you, and like he'll grab my nipple and like take it with him, and I'm like, no.
Oh, that's another one. Do they touch your boobs?
No, they're
Whoops.
past that.
I think mine are.
Well,
psychos.
you've got great boobs.
big ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're great, but
If
they're
mine were
definitely big.
mine were like yours, I feel like they would be more interested.
Yeah, Ellis will pat them. He'll be like, bah, bah, bah. I'm like, thank you. No, especially for when I'm a bathing suit and we're in the
Yes.
pool
Oh,
together.
yeah.
And he's like, bow, bow. I'm like, dude. And he knows he's doing something naughty.
Of course.
Because he'll laugh. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. That was fun. You know what? I'm going to start asking other moms if their kids do these behaviors too.
Take a good poll.
Take
Yeah.
a poll and see.
Yeah.
I thought the naked thing for sure. Wow.
No, I think a lot of little boys like to be naked.
Yeah, they're always naked.
Yeah, no, my kids are just like,
Oh, do your kids eat like shit?
yeah, the little one, but I'm kind of a hard ass about it in a way where they have their pantry full of like all the fun shit, but they have to eat certain things before, only because I was never introduced to anything healthy growing up.
Yeah.
So I had to really work hard in these early 30s to like learn to like healthy food. And it was like a really big struggle for me. So I'm trying to just get them to like
Yes.
be used to healthier food.
That's smart. Very smart. They're not going to likely eat the broccoli that's on their plate, but as long as the broccoli is there.
You just keep putting it there in front of them. Yeah. Bo, oddly, is a pretty good eater. Jack is more like he would much rather just be straight up pasta mac and cheese when we can.
Yeah, you sneak it on the days you can.
Yeah, they like smoothies.
That's what I was just talking about with Katie Morton smoothies. You can put spinach in there.
Spinach, avocado. They throw enough juice in there, it covers it all.
Suckers.
Yeah.
How do you feel about iPad time?
We've limited to just the weekend now.
Oh, smart.
And only a couple of hours a day. Because mainly Bo was becoming a really big dick.
Yeah.
Game Roblox.
Okay.
It just like to the point where on a Saturday I would look at him and be like, "Did you play Roblox?"
Wow. Yeah.
Like it changes him. And I don't know. We also limited it because we want to use it when we need.
Right.
So when we know we need an hour, we'll just be like, hey, you can have your iPad now for a little while. And so limiting it to the weekend makes us feel less guilty, but then also let us just have our time when we need a break.
I might do that because Ellis, I'm letting him use his iPad more when Julian was sick. They were both really
Sure.
sick.
Well,
So like they're sick.
yeah.
So now he's in the habit of on the iPad. So his personality too got scary. And I was like, all right, dude, we're done. Like, I don't know if I should go cold turkey or just limit. Maybe the weekends is a good thing.
The weekends is good and they look
Yeah.
forward to it. You
Yeah.
can still hold it as ransom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can still be like,
yeah.
oh, you're going to lose it, dude. And then you're going to go like 2 weeks without one.
Yeah.
But Bo is getting older now. He's like mind because he'll like create a character for an hour. So I feel like
That's
he's being
cool.
creative. Like he's doing the shoelace color, and his guys always look really stocky with thick necks. But like he spends time doing that. I don't mind that.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
But in COVID, forget about it. We were in a point where it was like fucking
Whatever.
8 hours. Yeah.
COVID was the lost year.
Oh.
In terms of, especially when we were all in California, and when my kid was 2 and Julian was 2, he didn't even go to a playground. locked up.
I know.
Never got a cold that entire year. Never. It was so sad. So now he's getting everything.
I know.
But
We
it just did that for a year. It was terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, let's do another Pajitsky effect. These are so much fun. I love hearing that other people are as dumb as I am sometimes.
Pajitsky effect.
Hey, mommies, this is Bryce down in Iowa, and I've got a Pajitsky effect for you. So a few months ago, I got a new truck, and it's whatever. The one thing that I don't like about it, though, is that the steering wheel is really hard to reach in the dash.
Oh.
I have my seat moved up as close as can be without it being too that shit, and I've been driving like that for quite some time now. Today, I learned that if I pull that little lever at the bottom of the steering wheel, not only can I adjust the height, but I can also pull it closer to me. So for absolutely zero reason, I have been driving like a model for 6 months now. I get a kick out of it. Congrats on the Netflix special. It was litty like a titty. Piss on me, beat me, and touch my steering wheel through the fence.
Oh my God. How long before you figured out you could adjust the steering wheel like
I
that?
don't know, but I love it.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, I like have like different, some days I'm like, I want it like right here, and other days I'm like, I kind of want to like, I don't want to like one arm drive it and feel like a gangster,
Yep.
Like, I love moving my steering wheel around.
Me too. And now that I've discovered it, I think maybe 5 years ago I discovered it.
Well, because it used to have, some of them have like where you pull it out and you kind of have to like get it in. But, some, mine has like an electric one now. It's really nice.
Yes.
Like I can just ever slightly put it up to the left, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But this is amazing to be like lock armed.
It's like an ab workout.
Fucking brutal, dude. All right. Next one. I love these.
Hey, Mommy Tina. I am a I had a weird Pajitsky effect. I bought some bowls at Walmart that are like 50 cents each because I only had a couple bowls. Did that a bunch of months ago. Just realized now that I can buy new silverware because I have a group of silverware that I go through, and I have a couple tiny forks, and I always rummage around in it and avoid the tiny forks. I just realized today I can throw the tiny forks out, so I grabbed them, threw them in the trash. I'm going to go buy bigger forks. Anyway, piss on me, beat me. I'm coming up in May.
I just realized that you could do that too.
You're like, thank you for giving me permission to throw away my tiny forks. I didn't know they come with tiny forks.
Tiny forks. I think tiny forks. It's keeping things you hate, which I am an absolute, because now since I've started having these Pajitsky effects more and more, I start to become a stickler now for throwing everything out that we are. Throw it away. Throw it out.
Yep.
Like I just came across a fucking basket of chargers. Like, you know how you get a kid's toy and now it doesn't come with like a normal thing. It comes with a USB thing. And you're like, dude, I don't even know what toy this fucking belongs to. Clearly no one's used it in ages. Why are they all collected in a fucking bin? Throw it away.
My cutter doesn't like to throw anything away. And I'm like,
Ugh.
if we have not used it in the last months to a year, gone. Nope.
Because you don't need it. And you just go rebuy it.
Yep.
Then that's an Amazon. It's literally, I push my button on the phone and it shows up the next day.
Yep.
But keeping things you hate, how long does it take you